Zoom video in order for it to stream.
Jeez, we're alive.
Okay, I think we're fine.
Very good.
We are live.
Live from Pierce. This
So
is
how do we,
Thursday night.
what's the link on YouTube? You don't, okay.
Whatever was
Yeah, I'll find it.
listed.
Okay.
Hold on, I'll find it.
But I also put it on.
Yeah, right here. I'll send it to you. I'm right on it, and it's live.
I'm looking for Keith to write the guide, so.
Two captions
last
on my stream. Yay, we're on there. Feedback loop. Stream on YouTube. So we can get started. I'm just going to try and get the closed captions on. That's all I'm going to be doing. So did I.
Right there. All right. It is 6:15, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to our Pierce LSC meeting. Today is Thursday, October 20th. Maybe we can do a roll call. I think when I read the rules, which is not too long ago, the secretary is supposed to call to do roll call. Do you mind, Rocky? You know what to do that.
Do I just hear on anything now? Matthew?
Here.
Nicole, Randy?
Here.
I'm here. Catherine Hayes here. Ella? She will not be attending.
Ella will not.
Byron is here. Terry?
Here.
Svetlana? Eve?
Here.
Lindsay? Here. Adolfo?
Here.
And Evan is not here. He's absent.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the order of the agenda. So we share that with folks, and I think we have copies of people in attendance. Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the order of the agenda.
Yes.
Any, I guess, no, it's the ayes. It's been a while. Anybody approve? In favor? Good. Anybody opposed? Any discussion? All right, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is items needing council approval. The first one is the minutes of the regular meeting that was held on May 19th. That was the last meeting of the outgoing LSC. I'd like to apologize for sending it to you so late. I was the one taking notes, and it took a while to get those ready. So I shared those with folks. I don't know if there are any questions or so.
I haven't had a chance to review them.
Okay. Do we want to?
We can move
Does it
over
make
to
sense?
vote.
Yeah. Okay. So, being the one that wrote those notes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on May 19th.
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Good. Opposed? Any discussion?
I actually will abstain since
Okay.
I haven't.
Yeah. Good. Motion passes. The next item is minutes of the regular meeting on September 20th, 2022. Rocky, thank you very much for sending those out. Any questions? All right, so here again, I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second?
So moved.
Oh, thank you. Any,
Second?
Laura? Any discussion? Very good. Motion passes. Thank you. We had on our agenda next, we wanted to make a special motion here, or at least put some room here for the student representative to give a report. Unfortunately, Ella is not feeling too well tonight, so she's gonna skip. So I think we're gonna move to the next one. But I think going forward, if everyone is okay, I think we should have this here permanently. I don't know if we need to vote on that. I don't think so. Okay. So, okay, good. Excellent. Next on the agenda is a principal report, and you'll see that we added in there the safety committee update because we thought that was part of, some of the things that are part of the general school business, and so we wanted to include that in there. I hope it's okay, just to make it a little easier and faster as well as to give it as a report.
Actually, I communicated with Ms. Hayes about the safety committee. When we get to that, I'll share my concerns.
Okay.
Moving forward with the formation of the safety committee. I don't know that I will be able to do it if how it's going to be formed is going to be formed. So when we get to that, I'll share.
Very good. With that, I'll let you take over.
Thank you. So I emailed out my principal's report. It's also available in the Google Drive. A couple of highlights from the report are that we are continuing with the implementation of our school improvement plan. In terms of professional development with teachers, we've begun our peer observations. So this week was actually the first time that teachers officially began those peer observations. And we still need to create our structure and begin to work around learning walks. Ms. Heinlein taught our first research lesson of the year on Tuesday. It was a fourth grade lesson on multiplication, on decimals. And there were several staff members at Pierce, along with the director of mathematics for the district and a couple members on his team, and staff from Lesson Study Alliance that came to support the lesson study process. It was a really great professional learning experience for our team. Dr. Fisher was with us on September 23rd and had two of her co-facilitators lead a session for staff, continuing our work with racial equity, thinking about the four-step conscious racing process, along with thinking more about creating sanctuaries and anchors within our classrooms and within our teaching. And teachers also had an opportunity to look at the data with for their classrooms with a lens on how are certain subgroups of students performing and what might be next steps that we need to do within our instruction. But two, based on the last meeting, we had approved opening up 3 school assistant positions. Only 2 were actually able to be open once the cost of positions were put in, along with the district did take back $23,000, which I had mentioned may happen because we hadn't met the 5 student advance that we had requested. And so right now, 2 school assistant positions were open and have been staffed. So then in terms of the work with the proposal that was given to Friends of Pierce, I had highlighted the places that were approved from the budget proposal, and then we're waiting to hear back on some of the other items after we were able to meet with their group and see what their projected fundraising plan would be for the remainder of the school year. We are at the 60% playground renovation phase with the goal of the project going out to bid by early December, and they said that they would really like to start construction around spring break. So more information will come whether or not we can actually begin the construction at that point. Some of the highlights that will be happening within the school grounds are that in the playground area, there would be a small turf area put in place so that our primary students have a spot to play soccer or catch. They, are constantly playing on the grass, and we'd really like a turf to be able to be in. There's also going to be a nature space constructed with like wooden logs and things for students to climb on. There would be an addition of a saucer to accommodate more students to be able to swing, additional bike racks, a small basketball hoop, volleyball lines and posts so that we could set up a volleyball space, have it as like a multi-use space. You know, the painted games on the ground will be repainted, the Foursquare, hopscotch, some other things are in process. And then all of the rusted areas on the equipment will be swapped out, and then put spaces that need to be painted will be painted, and then equipment that may be not in good use will be swapped out as well. They'll also, in the space between door 8 and 9, fix the drainage issue that we've been having, putting wooden platforms around the trees so that we can preserve those spaces, add some metal hammocks for our older students to hang out during recess, and then there will be a larger climbing structure. CPS and the Alderman. So I think there's like $150,000 or $175,000 coming from the Alderman, and then the rest is from the district. Multi-tiered systems of support. We have begun our work with interventions. So the interventions currently have a full schedule. The kindergarten data was not in place beginning of the year, but now we have that. And so they're currently working on a plan to support kindergarten students with interventions. Our IB evaluation visit is right around the corner, and our Pearson teachers continue to meet. There were a group of 7 teachers at Pierce earlier in October, and they were able to visit our classrooms and engage in discussion with our teachers. And then November 30th to December 2nd is the IB evaluation visit, which will be fully virtual. Erin Lenahan, who's been a teacher at Pierce this year in 8th grade special education, accepted a position closer to home, and a new hire has been identified and will begin next Friday. And then 3rd graders held a peaceful protest in room 201 because of some concerns in the lunchroom. And it was really great to leverage student voice. And at the end of the protest, I told them the same things that they were bringing up were issues that I had been bringing to the lunchroom to their staff. And we had like made progress, and then things had reverted. So I had a group of them come with me, and the goal was to talk to the folks in the lunchroom, but the lunchroom manager wasn't there. So they did a video, and we were able to share that video with the lunchroom manager and with the cook, along with some of the people from central office. And the district has made some accommodations for us to do some things that we wanted to do internally to help speed up the process of getting students served. And then they're also working on a support plan so that the food is produced in the way that it's supposed to be. So I'm hoping that we see further progress, like pretty shortly. Our Hispanic Heritage Showcase was emailed out to the school community, and teachers had an opportunity to share it within their classrooms. It was really beautiful. The videos, the pictures, like the student work that was produced. It was just a beautiful video showcase. And then Christina Kanda, who's a Pierce parent, was able to bring 2 Indigenous groups to the school on Monday of this week. And the students absolutely loved the performance from the groups that were here from Oaxaca, Mexico. And so they were here as part of the the Indigenous Peoples Day Arts and Music Festival. Our sports teams continue to do really well. Field trips have continued, and it's been great for students to be, out of the classroom and into like learning spaces outside of the school. I tried to pull the data from September to October for student behavior, and the system has been down this week, so I haven't been able to pull student level data. I can see like broad data, but I'm not able to disaggregate it. I'm not able to get accurate numbers. And so as soon as that becomes available again, I'll be able to update the council. But one thing that Shelton had let me know is that he was in a meeting with other deans with the district, and they had said that in the ISP network, out-of-school suspensions have actually increased by 74%, which is a huge increase, and Pierce has still had no out-of-school suspension. So while other schools are struggling in a great way with student behavior, our process and our structures have been able to mitigate in us being in the same space. We are currently working on a plan for conference day in terms of hours. We're trying to create a flexible model so that staff can schedule conferences with families who are not able to attend on November 21st. And so I'll be meeting with teachers to discuss a possible plan that will then be communicated back to families. And then just to also highlight that there was, literacy night was amazing. Even though smaller turnout, like the teachers did a phenomenal job organizing activities. We did get feedback on ways that we could better communicate what literacy night is. A lot of families didn't really know what to expect from a literacy night, so that was really helpful for us to think about as we are sort of like re-entering these community events. We need to be a little bit more explicit about what these events are. And then PSO and Michelle Platts, who are here, did a phenomenal job with the Fall Festival last Saturday. And one last thing is just to share that I also, on the same day that the Pierce, the SEN teachers were here, there was a group of about 10 new principals at the school, and they were able to do a walkthrough of the building. They were so impressed with the climate and culture, the culturally relevant text that they saw present in classrooms, the student discourse that's happening, and like true engagement and learning. So it was really nice to sort of have another set of eyes, seeing things that like we think are good, but we don't always sort of like see it in the same way that others see it. So that's it.
Okay, so that's it for sure, happening all year again.
So we're at the ending point of our work with Dr. Fisher, and so we're going to actually talk about ways that we could possibly continue working with her. She's got a couple of ideas, and then she's still going through the CIWP analysis. And so there was a call out to those that had engaged in the CIWP process before. So she was waiting on that data to come in so she could analyze it and then schedule a meeting so that we could talk more about that.
I have a question about the professional development plan, the kinder data that's reviewed and intervention. What kinder data is it referring to?
iReady. And not just iReady, but then it's also like the progress monitoring data that teachers would have in the classroom. Because iReady is a new assessment system, we're having to make sure that we're triangulating data,
Yeah,
so that what we're seeing maybe is or is not accurate.
right, because I remember you mentioned at the last meeting and I've heard from multiple schools, yeah, like it's just tough for a 5-year-old to.
And we're trying to figure out what is the progress monitoring tool that we want to really anchor in. Teachers are using like different tools right now.
And I also just want to make a general comment that the showcase, Hispanic Heritage Showcase, was so wonderful for me personally. I actually learned a lot from it. And I got to chaperone a field trip for Thursday, and that was the first time they had the bus. Because like they've not gone to it before. It was loud. It was lovely.
Where did you go?
We went to the Harris Theater and saw this unbelievable production of The Story of the Valley. It was so beautiful. I can't say it enough.
I just want to kind of make it quick. I know we've gotten some comments about it's hard to hear online, so I just want to encourage everybody to project, even if we can hear you here, that we're going across the digital landscape so that others can hear us.
Thank you, Lori. Before we go to budget, Jerry, yeah.
So I was communicating with Ms. Hayes. I volunteered to be the safety committee rep for report back to us because I thought it was important that we have a teacher that's in the building, seeing what's going on internally. I thought, and then there was some communication about open meetings act and I was not understanding, like, I thought that you were wanting to have meetings with all staff, or that's not, so usually how we've done it.
That's not what Mommy said. It was just that you have to have meetings.
Right, so what I'm saying is that we have done it in the past, and whether, I don't know if that was correct or not, usually it's listed in the bulletin or wherever it is that I'm in the contact, and teachers email me, which has worked very well. I save all the emails, and then I bring them to Ms. Amy, I bring them to the LSC. But I'm adding an extra meeting, like, I don't know how we would, I don't know that the meetings would be effective with all due respect, because the teachers aren't gonna come to the meeting, they're gonna shoot off an email or come stop by 224 and tell me, hey, Jerry, like, I've gotten pictures on my phone, like, this door was open this morning, like, so I would love to be the representative and bring those safety concerns to the LSC and to the administration, but I don't think that having the meetings is gonna be effective, so I was wondering if there's a way around that.
Well, I think there's a couple different things. One is like, per our bylaws, we have a safety committee. And so I think as it's written as a safety committee, like if we're operating a safety committee, then we do have to follow OMA. But I think what you're sharing maybe doesn't necessarily have to come through a safety committee. It can be just like a general share out, like via the principal's report, that like these are things that we're hearing from staff, but then if the LSC wants a safety committee as a committee of the LSC, then we would need somebody to chair it, have an agenda, make it public.
Determine what the work is and
Yeah.
enact the work at the meetings is what Jonathan Owen told me.
Right, and I mean, I understand that, what I'm saying is like, I don't think that that's something that will be effective as a teacher for me, as for my colleagues. I think it's more effective if I share it to Ms. Amy and share it out the principal report, or if I am in contact, because that has worked in the past. When I was doing the COVID safety, like, and you got tons of emails from me, of, like, this is what it's saying. I mean, I checked in with the staff, that I was assigned to weekly, then I got the concerns. So, I mean, we can decide as an LSC, but if it's a subcommittee, then to your point, was saying that if it's a subcommittee, I understand, community having concerns, but I think it's really important to have someone in the building on that committee who's seeing, because like I get here at 6:30 in the morning, if there's a door opening, I'm gonna be texting and I'm gonna be saying, like, we were just talking about something that I observed at 6:30 in the morning this week. So I think that it's really important to have inside eyes. So maybe I could be that person inside, and if you guys want to do like a subcommittee, I don't want to be responsible to attend those extra meetings. So the principal evaluation, LSC, full-time teaching, 3 kids, like that, I just have to step back from that.
This seems to be begging the question, what is the purpose of safety and security committee? Is it only what Jerry's describing? Is there more? And if there's more, then we need a committee, but if there's not, we don't need a committee.
Can I piggyback on that? Yeah, I have a question in that there's 3 people on the committee right now from our council, right? Ella, and also, and Gary, right? So how would that, with collecting things from teachers, how would that work, I guess, with the 3 of you?
Well, we can
communicate
communicate.
somehow?
We can communicate because, like, in the meeting, you sent an email, like, and someone shared this with Ella, because you can't communicate with Ella.
Right.
Because you don't- And I shared everything with Ella, like you requested. I was like, I shared it. So Adolfo, Ella, and I can communicate via email. I can also go see Ella, like that. We can communicate on the internal. Adolfo would bring the outside aspect of when he's at the front door and he's surveying the ground. The question is if we're talking about community concerns and parent concerns, and that becomes something else. So I guess that's what we have to figure out. But I could communicate with Ella, Adolfo, Ella, and I'm comfortable, we can communicate.
But then we're not calling that a committee of the LSC then.
Right.
And I think what you're saying is really helpful because I think when we initially decided what our committees were going to be, we weren't all really 100% sure what the purpose of each committee was going to be. And we don't have to have committees for everything that we decide to do. So I think that I would support the 3 of you doing more intentional work as far as safety is concerned. And if we want to address like community safety concerns, maybe there's like plugs that we can put out there, like communicating to the LSC via the email, and making sure lines of communication are open with our parents and outside community
I think it's important that we hear those concerns.
Right,
I just
right.
don't know if we should hear those concerns jointly. It might make more sense and be more effective for us to handle the internal student safety staff and teacher concerns, and then someone else handle community and
I think especially as we're like really fine tuning the OMA aspect of it and understanding like, okay, we do have to have like open meetings for these, which means we have to have people available to do open meetings and commit to open meetings. And so, yeah, I think maybe looking at.
yeah, I'm happy to
readjusting.
I'm happy to be the person of contact and, you know, saying, put it in the bulletin weekly, and she like, you know, then people see it and know like, okay, I'm happy, more than happy to do that and bring those concerns to the same monthly, or, and of course, with discretion if it's emergency right away. But I don't want to be like without communicating, because then it's going to be extra meetings, and just at this time, I just feel like it's too much.
So does it make sense to kind of revisit the purpose of what we call the Safety and Security Committee of the LSC then?
Yeah.
So how do we want to do that? What's the
What I was
best
gonna
way?
ask is if those of you with more historical knowledge of how that committee's operated before, like the previous councils, could.
And isn't the safety committee part of PPC too?
So the CTU safety committee is,
Right.
but not like a safety committee as it's in our bylaw.
Right, so the CTU is part of PPC, so you meet with them. And then the part of bylaws committee could, for the internal, could be me, Adolfo, and Ella. And this is,
But it's not gonna be called a committee.
right, I'm sorry, and this is strictly, this is strictly safety of the building, people and grounds. This is not COVID safety at all. Okay, so that's fine.
Is it possible to suspend a subcommittee until it's deemed necessary or initiated again?
One thing I would like to say is there's certainly safety concerns that we cannot open to the public or to the community until we pass it through the channel, which it goes through Ms. Amy. And because of various safety concerns and laws and everything. So in my case, it has to go through our channel from safety and security before even it can be public.
Sure.
So that means that, you know, that's why if it's an open meeting for safety, you know, so we have to be very cautious about what we are gonna be, you know, discussing about it. I don't see why we should, in ourselves, in my position, and the teachers' positions, and I think this is, I mean,
That's what it sounds like.
we communicate and we pass it to Ms. Amy and then, and to you guys.
So what I'm hearing is we need to make that part of the principal's report. And if we need to continue holding meetings that are not related to what we talked about, the grounds, the safety of the staff and the students, then we can reactivate that, what we call Safety and Security Committee. And perhaps we can just also try and figure out what we want out of it. So you answer your question, what we did before is take a look at, again, the COVID protocols that were in place, the results of that. And then we had discipline data that came through, right, as part of that. Now that she shares it as part of the principal report, and COVID, knocking on wood, right? Hopefully, you know, sort of, I do think, can piggyback on what he said. It may make sense at some point to just say, well, we'll pause this one, and then if there are any concerns that are, you know, that are coming in at a pretty rapid clip, then we can reactivate it and figure out.
And if she shares it as part of the principal report, right, if there's a question, am I allowed to speak to it?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, I mean,
absolutely.
so that would be a happy thing for me. I also, like, any council member can also reach out to me about what, you know, what is going on.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
what, you know, so if that would make it easier for me, I'm happy to do that way. I think that's a good compromise if everyone else is.
Yeah, I mean, it's happened before, right? When Sam and or Ms. Munoz have come in and given, you know, a little bit of more details on some of the stuff that Lori was talking about. So I think that's fine. I don't think, I'm okay with that. I don't know if folks,
The only thing that's hanging in the background is like, you know, we chatter our parents of peers periodically seeing concerns of parents about kid safety, either as they leave school or, you know, get back beyond school. So I don't have an answer for how to best liaise with our parents on, you know, as, with that part of safety, but it seems like something that we should think about.
for sure. I mean, I would hope that at some point it would make it all the way to be either us here as representatives
Yeah.
or Lori
That
in
would
the
be
office.
how we do it, is just, you know, hey, I heard this.
Okay.
You know, and relay it to.
Yeah, if they're like one-off situations, yes, if we're seeing trends where we need to problem solve, then we should discuss some of those things.
Yeah, and in the past, when we tried years and years ago, when we tried to find stuff, staff was made aware, or, you know, if there's something going on, like on the playground, parents are made aware of not having people from other schools. I mean, I think there's ways around it than holding meetings that people may not attend. I think we may get more stuff this way.
And even on, I'm just looking on our website, we have like in the spotlight at the bottom of our main page where it has the questions and suggestions, and then incident reporting. I don't know if we want to add something as far as like safety is concerned there or just include that maybe in question, suggestion, safety issues or something where if there is something they know there's a spot, that they can report stuff on our website.
And I also feel like it's a really intense safety concern. I think we have a good job of having most admin safety out at arrival and dismissal. And I think that people can be grabbed. You know what I mean? Like,
You're always.
as a parent, I would grab someone and be like, hey,
Yeah, that makes sense. So on the budget, you said that CPS took back about 23 grand. How do they determine that amount?
It's the per pupil budget allocation that they gave us. So whatever that 23,000 is divided by 5. It's like that was-
46.97.
Quick math, Matthew.
No, calculator.
No.
All right. Get it. We would move to budget then, or any other questions? I don't know, folks. All right. Cool. So I think we have budgets at internal accounts.
I will make
sure,
the
yeah.
motion to approve September's internal accounts.
I'll second. We got the ayes. Anybody approve? Nobody opposes? Any abstention?
No,
Mhm.
I'm good.
All right. Thank you. The next item is transfer of funds.
There are no transfer.
Yeah, okay. So, there's only one. We always put in others there. I don't know,
There's
as far as
nothing
budgeting
else.
is
We're
concerned.
good.
Okay, very good. All right. So now that kicks off the first public participation. I think folks there's a sign-up sheet there. I don't know if folks we have a very attentive audience here. I'd like folks to pipe up if they have any questions. I know that we also have some items that have come through email, so I think maybe it will be a good time to take a look at those and bring them up. But while that's happening, I don't know if anyone has any comments or. Yeah.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Ms. Amy, are you able to share the names of the positions the assistant positions that were open?
Oh, yeah, Luke Coyle and Jennifer Ramirez.
Okay. Was there another one for the after school or what was the one that didn't get funded?
Pardon me?
There was one that didn't get funded, right?
Yeah, there were three positions that we were requesting, we were only able to open two.
Got it, okay.
I'm checking the emails, very slowly processing.
We don't have any live chats either.
We had one email that came in before the meeting. I don't know if I should read that now. It's really short. Yeah, and I tried to share it with everybody. It's a dear LSC, I'm unable to attend tonight's meeting. I wanted to share my experience attending in person earlier this year. I sat in the front row to the left of the LSC table and I couldn't hear what the members were saying. You know what people say? The sound in the gym made it very difficult to follow. In comparison, meetings I've attended via Zoom were clearly audible with the added accessibility of closed caption on the screen. I hope the LSC will continue to explore multiple ways for parents to participate and access these meetings, both in person and remotely. And that was sent at 4:16 today from Kristen Ober.
It is hard to hear.
It is, we were saying that we can't hear some of you even right here.
Because of this technical, I guess.
And we can just have chairs like closer and then people could like sit at the table. But you're welcome to come sit right here and here. It'll make it easier right here.
I will make a comment. I really love, I think we've done a wonderful job at PSO really trying to support sports. We kind of started that this spring. I think the parents are also really grateful for the new website that CPS put out that makes it a lot easier. But it's lovely to see how wonderful they're doing in sports. I know like cross country is huge.
Yeah,
There's so many kids doing cross country, and it's just really, really nice to see that they're really getting involved.
Yeah, volleyball as well is the parents that come and cheer the games. It's amazing. We have the best fans of any of the schools that I've attended.
Yeah, we definitely show up.
And we had a Pierce parent donate a tent.
Yeah, the
A
tent.
beautiful
Did you see
pop-up
that? Yeah.
with our
Our logo and our,
logo and everything on it, which was really nice.
it was up at the Fall Fest when you came in. It's really great. We ramped it up.
I had a quick question. Did you get enough volunteers for Fall Fest?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
We did. And there was students that volunteered as well, so that was new this year,
Yeah.
offering a sign-up genius for students. And a lot of parents signed up their kids and they reluctantly came. But they did it and I said, this is, they enjoyed it. Because there's not a lot for the 8th graders to do really. So that helps them become involved and still have fun.
We also have the promise of providing them sort of a volunteer end of the year party. Whoever has volunteered, and I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, we're gonna keep track.
All right. Anything else on public participation? Anybody else? All right. We're gonna move on to community group reports. First one is from Friends of Pierce. I connected earlier with Chad, who is the president of FOP, and he was expecting to attend in person, had something happen unexpectedly, so he's not going to be able to make it. A couple of announcements. There was a previously scheduled gathering on November 11th, Friendsgiving, that's been actually postponed. And so they're going to reach out when a new date is scheduled.
Why was it postponed?
There was another event on that same day there, and so they had to kind of move it, is what I'm understanding. Another item is Family Week. I don't know They raised $300 from family participation at Pizzeria Aroma during the week of October 10th. And so thanking them for their support. And it looks like, so we shared, or PSO shared, a list of Pierce days throughout for the remainder of the year. So, upcoming Pierce days, here you go. November 7th at Altitude and November 16th at Chipotle. And then there's a call for folks to sign up for the monthly newsletter. There's a link. I'm not going to read it, it's very long. It's Friends of Pierce. That is it.
Matthew, will you email that to?
I'm sending it to
Oh,
you right now. Yeah, they're gonna have the gift guide, we're gonna do that again for the FLP, where it goes out in all the gift bags, like the businesses donate 20% back to Pierce, like Minted and Honey Baked Ham, they had Edge of Sweetness, all those, like, there's local ones, and then there's ones that are online as well, so that's gonna come out, I don't know, we're working on it right now.
We're gonna try to do art cards as well with student art, reaching out to the art teachers.
I know you're gonna reach out to the art, sorry, I know you're gonna reach out to the art teachers, but I also think, like, especially in the primary grades, some of the teachers would do the art cards as well, in the classroom.
Yeah.
So.
I'll definitely reach out to them. That's, the art cards are my part of it, so.
Because I know, like, we always did a unit, we used to live in a nursing home right now, and we couldn't go because of COVID, but we used to also make cards and stuff for them, so it's always something like during the holidays, or we would write letters and stuff, so that's definitely something. It's just, it goes with our unit that we're in at that time. So if you can also reach out to me, I can talk to second grade,
Okay.
so you know where to find me.
All right. Next on the agenda was PSO.
Yes. We have the book fair that needs to be approved. That's the first thing on the list, yes. With the corrected dates, but I think I wrote the wrong dates again. It's November 14th, which is Monday, through that Friday, and then again on Monday the 21st. So it's the 14th through the 21st. Is it the 21st? Wait.
That would be a week later, or, yeah, a week later.
Yeah, 21st is report card pickup day.
Through Scholastic?
Yeah.
Through Scholastic?
Yes, through Scholastic, yeah. So we were gonna have it only 4 days, but Ms. Leibowitz wanted to do the full week, so everyone in the school was able to come to the book fair.
Yeah.
So I guess we just need approval for that.
Yeah, so then in the agenda, there's a line item there for.
Oh,
for
so that
voting on
happens later.
That's right.
Sorry about that.
You're
Okay.
totally fine.
So then the other updates are we had a successful parent mixer at Empirical, and it was a great night to have new parents and old time parents out together mixing it up. And we had the Fall Fest, which happened on just this past Saturday, which is a huge success, and we raised money to continue to put on more free events. So we didn't really charge, it was a free event, but there was money raised, so then we can roll that money into the next event. And what else is happening there? Oh, the Spookpalooza is happening, that's the 28th on Friday, we're trying to figure out the time, nail that down, but other than that, it's gonna be in the gym and the cafeteria for the whole school, all grade levels. And then we've got the parent-teacher luncheon that's on the 21st, which we're hoping that we have, we're gonna do a potluck this year again, like in years past, bring that back for families, make food to bring and share, and we're hoping that there's families around on that day.
And actually, Michelle, I'm meeting with staff tomorrow to discuss a plan for that day.
Okay,
So reach out to Kristen and Sam, like, middle of next week,
okay,
to see what we finalize on. We're,
Okay,
we're gonna try and make an attempt to have as many of the conferences actually prior to the 21st.
oh, really? Okay,
And we'll still have staff here the 21st,
okay,
but because so many people, expressed that they're not able to come on the 21st, we're gonna talk to staff and try and see what kind of plan we can come up with for that. So it may not be your typical conference day that we used to.
oh, okay, and then that would affect how we bring in the lunch.
Yeah, so by the
Okay.
middle of next week, just reach out to both of them.
Okay, perfect.
Does that affect that last book fair day too?
Yeah, that might be, yeah, so we
Potentially,
might
but
just
we
do
may
it,
be able to capitalize on that
Yeah.
the week prior.
right, and just do it for that week and not do it on the 21st, that makes sense. I
Possibly,
mean,
but maybe not because we'll still have the building open the 21st.
Okay,
Well, the survey, the survey, when is the survey?
Yes.
About the book fair, is there any way that we could extend that after school for parents to come in? Because a large part of the book fair is parents coming in and purchasing books for classrooms.
yeah, that was gonna be on the 21st, but maybe we do
You
a
could do-
nighttime one during the week. Yeah, okay.
Can I ask a question about the book fair? In the past, like, we haven't had one in person in a long time, they've done like, teacher wish lists.
Yeah, we're gonna do that
Are
again.
you gonna do that again? And how are you gonna roll that out? Like, is it via email or?
Yeah, we're gonna work with Ms. Leibowitz and have her probably send it out to you all and to get, your wish list, and then she'll get it back to us, or how, we're gonna,
Because I saw that, I saw at a book fair, I thought this was really cool, like, they had like a board with library pockets, and it had the room number and the teacher's wish list, with what was listed, and then as they were bought, they were crossed off, so that like parents weren't buying the same thing, and they can see like, oh, this classroom, that's not my kid's class, but this classroom no one bought for, so,
yeah.
it was a
There's
really.
another way that I've seen it done where it's like each teacher has a basket of books.
Yeah, I've
And then
seen that
they're
too.
taken out of the basket, purchased.
Yeah,
There's a little note that's written on it and then given to the teacher. So the baskets get emptied, so the books are actually there for the people to buy. So there's a couple ways I think we can do it.
well, thank you.
Yeah, it's fun to bring back the book fair. I love book fairs. And we're talking about babysitting nights once a month for parents, and we're trying to figure out if it's a PSO or an FOP thing.
Could have ended up being a PSO thing.
I mean, FOP was talking about doing it to raise money, but I don't think anything's been finalized. So I guess if we do charge, would we have to do a proposal through the LSC for that?
It's gonna be on the.
Yeah, would be in the gym. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we work with, Sammy to figure out, the opening of the building and all that business. But we're thinking, we are hoping to get it going in November, but it might not be till December.
I mean, do we need any kind of, we already did it at some point, right?
But there's certain approvals, so
Right.
we need to figure out the logistics to figure out what level of approval needs to be in place.
Okay. And so who should we work with Sam and Chris?
No, I don't really, we'll have to work on it.
We'll wait, okay. I think that is it for now.
Is it?
From the
Michelle,
PSO.
can I ask a question about the Fall Fest?
Sure.
Funds that were raised?
Yeah.
Are you able to share how much was raised?
April sent me an email and I can't remember, but I want to say maybe 2,500 in that range. And I don't know if that's before or after expenses. She has a really detailed, it's all detailed really
Yes.
nicely. I just can't remember because there's lots of information. But it was a nice amount of money and it was an hour less than last year. And I think next year, I want to make sure we have more stuff. We ran out of everything.
We did.
But it was great.
Two smaller things too. We plan on bringing back stocking the lounge. But we're hoping that we can maybe also put a small basket in the mailroom, because the feedback I heard from teachers was that there was nothing ever left in the lounge when they went down. And then
You got, sorry.
spread it
Thank you
out.
for doing it.
And then we're also gonna bring back surprise Starbucks.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do
Teachers
that
really liked that.
monthly, like a monthly surprise. Starbucks treat for the teacher that gets chosen.
We'll hit up everybody on
Yes, yeah, that's it.
Very good. Well, thank you again, and thank you for everything you all do. I mean, it was really successful. I don't know how many faces you painted, but my daughter was elated coming out of that thing.
Face painting was really,
Yeah.
really well done, and like whoever did those sticky, gems on faces, that was, I thought that was like.
That was
such a-
Lauren.
Wow.
She's very dedicated.
Yeah,
She's
she was
injured,
hardcore.
Still came.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew? I think kids hadn't gotten their faces painted in so long that it was like,
Mhm.
that was like the most popular thing.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
As the laundry machine could attest, it was. Next on, okay, so thank you again. Next is REP, Racial Equity Parent Group. I don't know if anyone has any, I didn't reach out.
They
I
had
should
their
probably
meeting,
do that.
I attended the meeting this week.
Okay,
Um,
They're in the process of transitioning steering committee to
Right.
people,
right.
and making appeal, for people
Did they pick a steering committee?
to, they're in the process of transitioning, so they want people to come to them, if they're interested.
Oh, got it.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I was in between, bedtime, but, yeah, it seemed mostly about, I know there was a couple newer faces, and there was a lot of just organizational discussion on how the organization is, set up, and some discussion on its purpose.
Those that are out there listening, if you're interested, please reach out to them. Because they're looking.
Yeah, looking for more parental, participation.
And I forgot one thing.
Yes, please.
Sorry, the Fiesta Day Art is coming back in, April 24th, I think it is. It's a Wednesday. And there was discussion, we had a meeting with the art teachers this week and just trying to get a plan formed. And, we talked about the theme as being Día del Niño, which is last year was with the piñatas. So we're thinking of combining the two because they're right 2 days apart. And so we've got a good idea about what we want to do. And so I think that'd be a nice feature to be during the day for the kids and then also at night for the parents and kids to come back and do other things.
Are you doing that in collaboration with the Bilingual Advisory Council?
Yeah, they're going to be involved, yeah.
Awesome. Speaking of,
Yeah, exactly.
committee reports.
So, Mr. Lerner had shared with me already, I was unable to be here this evening. But they asked that I share out that the last meeting was on September 22nd and officers were elected to fill all 5 positions. Initiatives over the past month have included the Dia de los Muertos altar and approved activities at Fall Fest. Their next meeting is October 27th, and they will be discussing access score reports and levels of English proficiency, as well as voting on the DAC budget. And they will begin planning workshops for winter and spring, including brainstorming ideas for Dia del Niño, which Michelle was just talking about. And there is, interest in working in collaboration.
Thank you. Any questions? Back.
In collaboration with PSO?
Well, it's not, PSO is just helping, it's a teacher, it's the art teachers, but PSO helps volunteer for it and chairs when, the committee of it, but it's really, it's a school event.
I have a question about committees over, kind of piggyback on, I was talking about committees and now. Last time, we discussed, I saw your email, called parents, if they would like to join different committees and listed them out. Did anyone reach out about joining any of the committees that we listed? Has there been any interest on that? Many parents?
It would have come through the email, because that's how we said the, communication should be
It was on that LSC email.
Yeah.
That's not
Good question.
We probably should reissue those calls.
Wait, repeat that, sorry.
Have Lori continue to put those calls out for committee members.
Yeah, I mean, the last LSC, we didn't have parents, non-LSC members in any of the committees. Now, not that, I don't remember if we actually put out a call like we're doing now, but that, I guess I would say I'm not too surprised, right?
Yeah.
So I think at the last meeting, we talked about in the formation of committees, like, are there others that may be interested in joining and wanting to make sure that there was at least a call out? Because there were parents here at the last meeting that were interested in the communications committee. And so we just wanted to make sure that, like, it wasn't just people that were showing up to the meeting that had that opportunity, but that it was open to others. And speaking of that, I think it would be good to maybe at least reach out to those two that had expressed explicit interest, because both of them are doing work as it relates to communications.
Lauren and
Lauren and,
I volunteer.
yeah,
Yeah.
you.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Michelle, too. There wasn't a third person?
I don't know. I don't, was
Lauren, what's Lauren's last name?
Sweetheart. Swihart.
All right, PPLC?
Oh, yes, we met just the other day on yesterday.
That is the other day.
We met yesterday. The things that were brought to the table were, in primary grades were using curriculum, CKLA, and unfortunately, that curriculum has been paused in getting to us. So we're getting piecemeal pieces of the curriculum, and the concern is amongst the primary grade teachers about the reading comics program and not having the materials. We spoke with Mazzini and Adam about it. They've been speaking to procurement and the publisher and trying to get to the bottom of that.
So you repeat the name of the curriculum?
CKLA. And then another concern that was brought was reach assessment. Reach assessment is an assessment that we conduct at the beginning of the year and the end of the year, and the teachers also are evaluated on the growth of the student from the beginning of the year and end of the year. However, CPS hasn't gotten all the reach assessments out, so now we're going into Q2 without the assessment and not have given them. So the concern is, like, if this is the beginning of your assessment to show growth, and I'm giving it in Q2, what's going to happen? Ms. Amy said that we could either, ask for help at the school printing level, print them ourselves, or wait for them to arrive. CPS did extend the date of when, and I'm foreseeing it being extended again because we still haven't gotten that. But we talked about the Hispanic Heritage Month Showcase, and we talked about the other celebrations, assemblies that going along with the curriculum for the year. And I think that was it. Yeah.
And the last time we met, the PPLC had not been formed. That election was like kind of happening.
Yes, and we have the members of the PPLC.
Could
Yeah.
you list the numbers?
Myself, Gary Baumgarten, Evan Crowd, Adrian Heiner, Ms. Zaney, Ms. Munoz, Mr. Lee.
Canali, Ms. Wagner.
Okay, I'm sorry, Mrs. Canali, Ms. Wagner,
Please spell Canal.
Canale, Ms. Sloan, I think that.
Very good.
And with that, Evan and Jerry were initially part of the instructional leadership team, but because there was an explicit interest in other staff members forming the PPLC, they are no longer going to be part of the ILT since they are supporting the PPLC.
Very good. Thank you so much. Next is the Equity Committee that yours truly is a member of. We had our first public meeting a couple weeks ago. The minutes are in the process of being put together. We promised, or we endeavored to put them together. So as part of that, we elected a chair and a secretary. And it was also a call out for folks to join. We talked about non-LSC members to possibly join. Kathleen participated. I had a great time. It was very eye-opening. A lot of people brought different perspectives, just their different experiences at the school. One of the things that stood out was the fact that we need to strive to have what I call a consistent experience. If people have issues, there needs to be a process that they can go through, and everyone should be able to go through that same process. So there are policies out there. There are things that exist, but it sounds like some parents either didn't know about them or didn't feel like those policies were properly followed. So, as an equity committee, we said that part of that's precisely why we were put in place, right? To kind of bring these things up to not just the LSC, but just the administration, just to make sure that some of these concerns get addressed. So that's also again part of the minutes that we'll share once they're put together. There are also a couple of parents that expressed interest in joining. I think there was one at the meeting, and then there might have been one, and I don't have visibility because I don't get the emails anymore, but I think another parent said that they were interested in joining the committee. So what we did when this committee was formed is we actually interviewed parents and LSC members, and I'm not sure what we want to do for purposes of adding new members. If we want to follow the same procedure, or that was a one-time event because it was the first time that committee was put in place. So that's one of the things that I don't think we ironed out properly. I mean, maybe that's another question for the LSC. Do we want to go back and do interviews, or are we open to having folks who have expressed interest join?
So regardless, the process that's decided and agreed on by the LSC will need to vote on any members to any committee. So I think that's a good item to discuss is what do we want the process to be? And then just having an explicit goal, saying yes, we accept these. I think whoever is doing that work can make a recommendation, and then the LSC can accept or not the recommendation.
Okay.
So along with that, if we want to apply the same rule that applies to this LSC in terms of the number of meetings you can't miss. Because I know we talked last meeting about some concerns where people just show up once. Because when you form a committee, then that affects kind of the way you meet, which is what's going on.
The core thing, if you don't reform again for the rest of the year.
And I apologize, but I actually have to leave because I have to get to the nursing home to drop some things off before 8 o'clock. So feel free if you need anything, and you can call me, and I'm happy to talk by phone. So I'm so sorry. Thank you.
So as far as the interview process goes for the equity committee, so your question is, should that remain?
That's right.
And if it remains, is that something that we need to discuss as an LSC?
That's correct.
Determine?
That's correct. And I think in order to kind of make things a little bit faster, now that the committee is established, I am not convinced that having interviews is going to make a big difference. I'm actually glad that people are trying to join, right? So my recommendation or my selfish feeling would be to just fast track those people and do the vote. I don't know if there needs to be some kind of introduction of these folks.
rationale for the interviews in the first
That when it was first put together, I went through the interview process, so I didn't ask what the rationale was. However, I think the idea was to just make sure that people were actually committed and not just raising their hand precisely for these types of things where people, I'm part of this committee, but I'm not going to be involved or participate.
Yeah.
And as I said, I made that comment earlier that we didn't have parent or non-LLC members be part of any committees in the previous LSC. This is the exception. Like this is the first time I'm seeing folks excited or just
For somebody,
raising interest.
speaking as someone who likes to join committees, but then later realizes I don't really have time for it. I think it makes sense to offer some sort of maybe it's like a letter of intent that they sign, but if you want to remove the interview, to be more welcoming.
Yeah.
Well, and if we need to vote on them, then that's gonna create some kind of weight of their participation as well. Like if you showed up to this meeting, do you think you're gonna keep coming? If you think you want to join this, then the LSC will vote on it. If I'm hearing that, I'd be like, oh, okay.
Well, and also I think it's clear and made aware of in the process of before we vote on them. Here's what the rules say that you have to do in terms of making it clear what they're signing up for.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I could see us having a form with those rules on it and then some sort of statement that they enter, like the LSC candidate statements.
Is that something the communications committee can help us with? I'm not looking at anyone in particular.
Yes, no, I think you definitely can. I think we just have to determine as a group what their responsibilities will be.
Right.
So, I don't know if that's something we want to partake in tonight, so maybe we can.
No, I think it makes sense for us to go back to, because we just had our, I guess I'll call it charter, that we kind of agreed on. So maybe kind of sharing that with them and saying, this is along with the commitment to participate, to be there during those meetings. And if they're willing to do so, maybe like an email reply that says, yes, I'm committed. And then bringing it up at the next meeting, hopefully.
So we just have to determine though how many numbers, like how many members on the committee we want to have, and then it's filled, correct?
Sure. I don't know that we need to limit the number of people, but yes, we can come up with a
I'm
number.
just wondering only because maybe there's the committee number, and then if it's an open meeting, anybody can come and listen and participate.
Right.
They just are not a dedicated
That's right.
member.
Yeah.
So,
Well, in relation to the quorum question too, right? That's why the limited number can be helpful.
Yeah.
Because if it's like, this meeting it's 8, so then a quorum is 5, and then that one is 12, so then it's 8.
We don't have to set the number of people on a committee. The quorum is the majority of that number.
No, I think
we should look into that.
it can't fluctuate.
You have a quorum meeting. You have a quorum meeting, so that's on.
That committee, so we need to share it with everyone.
But like,
That's
that's
what
what
we
we
need.
get three people,
I think so.
you
So
know,
they
and two
know
have.
the way.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. That's
A
exactly.
quorum is the majority of, so like we have 13 people, so 7 is a quorum.
But that's
Or
for,
keep on saying that you need to know what that number is, what's the official committee number?
There is a quorum.
I think we should look into that further. And
We talked about this for 58 minutes at the last meeting, there is a stipulated number for meetings.
Not cap it at, but for example, if, the bylaws committee says they have 6 official members, and we know what the quorum is, the ratio of 6, right? And if we hold a meeting, anyone who comes to the community can come more than those 6 people, but we know that when we talk about quorum, for us, that means 6. But for the equity committee, their quorum might mean 8, depending on how many members they actually have. So that's what we're talking about, is figuring out, well, we know what our quorum is with 13. What would be, if they don't have a set number, or like, not a limit, but if they don't report of a committee number, then we don't know what the quorum is.
Yeah, we should be knowledgeable about what.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying.
Okay.
We need
I thought
to
you
tell us what
had,
their quorum is.
No.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Attend to properly, not.
Okay. No, that's right, that's right. So I think what we want to do again, and Adolfo also mentioned that, is share that charter here, make sure that we're okay with that, and then share that with those prospective members. Hopefully before the next meeting, which I do not know when it's scheduled for, so I need to figure that out. And then, I'm sorry?
Who was the chair that was?
It was Jill. Jill's the chair, and then the secretary is Francesca.
Okay.
Is there translation provided at this meeting?
Translation is provided because one of the members, well, it's not just because, but one of the members is actually bilingual. So there's
So trying to
translation.
get bilingual members and families,
So-
I think could be intimidating with, if we're not supplying enough translation and opportunity. You know, because if they have to submit this, isn't that?
Yeah, so you're right. So we can work with Claret to do the translation and then we can do the translation and make sure that she reads it and make sure that it actually passes just the basic translation, and then
And if
advertise
someone,
that.
if that person's gonna have to meet, then there should be someone of that native language on
Yeah, so you mean other than Spanish, because we
the.
have
Right,
a
I mean, what if
Spanish
someone comes
translator.
that doesn't, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So part of that is asking or requesting those accommodations. And yeah, absolutely. I think we just want to mirror. We definitely want to mirror what we do here for the LSC meeting. But yes. Next on the agenda is the safety and security meeting. I think what we decided, and please, hopefully I'm doing this right. The idea now is to put this committee on pause until such time when it would deem needed
Yeah, we see trends.
to bring it back up. Okay. All right. Next one is principal evaluation. There are three of us here. We've been talking about it. But I'll let you, if you want to talk about it.
I was just saying that I didn't get a chance to email back, but Mr. Jackson had an email about,
You did?
the things we want to think about. We need to get started, like yesterday because of the respectful turnaround that Ms. Amy is requesting. We did touch base with Ms. Amy and asked her, on her leave, if we can communicate with her. Because in the past, Mr. Chad and I, do a feedback session with Ms. Amy and share the, results, comments, what have you, anonymously. So she said that that was okay, as long as she's in a good place, and we can communicate that with her. We talked about getting, the access through the LSC website to her past cumulative evaluation. She told us that Mr. Garcia can help us with that.
Okay.
We reached out to Bill Kennedy and I forget who else about the past parent surveys, but that, that's something that is gonna have to go out. We have the staff survey and the support staff survey, that Mr. Adolfo and Mr. Chad and I will send out separately to the people we represent. And then we're trying to pin down a meeting day. I didn't chime in on the day because I was trying to kind of see what, majority was and see to work around. I think that it.
Because we're trying to get it submitted in December, right?
Yeah, because if we do not renew, then she would like kind of look for a new position.
Yeah.
So that's why we're doing the.
But that's why you're saying like it needed to be done yesterday because we're.
Yeah,
we're
it
like
needs to
8 weeks.
So the staff and support staff surveys are pretty seamless. We we've tweaked them over the years and we've got a pretty good method down. The surveys go out, we come in, we can look at the data, we can share the data anonymously, share it with the staff. It's more the parent survey, the community survey that we're gonna have to work with to community members, because I don't know if Bill got back to us about the old one.
I've not heard, but we need to definitely continue following up.
Yeah, and, that's more, there's more people to get to, there's more ways to get to them back, online, different languages, so that gets a little bit more complicated than our end.
Is there a percentage of parents that it needs to be submitted?
No, it's not a percentage. The only thing that we have to do is I don't even think we have to send out a survey, it's something that we do. Like, I know at other schools, like, other teacher reps don't send out a survey, they vote according to how they want to vote, So we're very good at doing that. I just know the legality of we have to, we do have to have an executive session meeting. We do have to, I think we do have to share the feedback with her.
Yes, that's correct.
We do have to share, and there's a deadline for that. And then we do have to enter it into, the website.
Yeah, there's a website.
Who pulls the data from other surveys?
I'm sorry?
Who analyzes the data?
We use the survey monkey program or whatever, so usually what will happen is, it'll come through, we don't send it, it doesn't go through CPS emails, it goes through personal emails, so teachers feel more confidence to answer, so we send it via our union list, Mr. Doppel will fill you in, he'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
And then once we get all the data, usually we look at it and then Evan and I will print out what the responses were. And then that's how we share it with LSC and with Missy. And some things we share with just Missy, some things we share.
So it's anonymous.
It is anonymous, and that's why we use personal email, because with school email, it has to be tracked. And some teachers also still are uncomfortable with it that way, so we do offer paper and pencil if they want to do it that way. We also offer the teachers to come and talk, they can't get their answers directly to the question, but the teachers can come and talk to us if they're more comfortable that way.
I was wondering, does Ms. Amy get the Survey Monkey results? Like, can she read everyone's comments, or you're
No.
reading the comments and then having a discussion with her about?
So we decided, we have such a large staff, and when you give a survey like that, you're gonna get a whole gamut of results, and some things are not gonna be as productive as others, right? So we do go through and filter what needs to be shared and what maybe we could just, because it's not mandated that we give a survey, right? So, but we usually, Evan and I always meet with her, and we have the whole survey printed out. We don't give it to her because it's also a question of the teachers have said you can kind of tell if I'm well, in the primary department, and then you see what teacher, I've been here for 10 years, and then it's so we try to go through and filter it so that it's the most anonymous as possible. And we've had very good results.
I'm wondering, beyond the high stakes of renewal of principal, beyond that, are there any other layers of things that actionable steps that principals maybe can take from this survey beyond just the renewal?
Yeah, she has, there's a whole, thing that comes out afterwards, that she'll say what she'll say what she's gonna work on, what the next steps are, yeah.
That's right, because that survey, this is what, the fourth year? This is the last year of a contract, but we get those surveys are done every year. So as part of that, she gets those feedback, those points that she works on, and then she also responds and tells us what she's done to address those, and in her way, right? But it's not just because of the renewal. To your point, it's on an annual basis.
And we also don't share those survey results. We don't share the comments. We share the data because, again, respectfully, whether you're for or against the contract renewal, she's a person with the respect of like some things don't need to be just.
Mhm.
And then we will, we usually, we vote strictly according, like, if half of us, if one of us has to vote no, one of us has to vote no, one of us has to vote yes, one of us has to vote, we just vote strictly according to what the result.
Yeah, so we have a lot of work. Yep, coming up. So, yes, it is.
It's not that bad.
Right.
Once
I
we get
know,
it
I know.
rolling,
I was just saying. Very good. The next one is,
Nicole, did you have a question?
oh, sorry.
I'm just thinking about the parent survey, like, just having done this, seen it in the past and seeing the comments, I just remember thinking at the time that it would be so useful for Miss Amy to just see all the comments, you know, even if there's a filter, like you said, that we use, when it comes to the evaluation at the end of the day and the conversation that we're having. And
Are you
I
giving it or not? I'm sorry, Evan and I have talked about this.
yeah,
Because if you're giving it anonymously, then the trust of the person filling it out is that that's going to be kept anonymous. So
right.
that's why we have a hard time handing it over a hard copy or forwarding it to her, because then that's not really, it could be identifying. So that's where we,
You can de-identify, like you could take out the, I've been here for 10 years, and
you could, I mean, I guess that's a personal choice that the parent reps in the community can do. This is just how,
Yeah.
like, we felt to gain as much trust and to honesty and transparency. That's how we done it.
Yes, for the parents, I'm wondering, like, if we said from the beginning, like, this is anonymous, but your comments are going directly to Amy and will inform the LSC evaluation, like, what would we think about handing over the comments, like, verbatim
Once we
to Ms. Amy?
Yes.
I just,
Never says.
I think they're useful, like, and I don't see necessarily a need to, like, filter them out if the parents know from the beginning, like, this is what she shared.
I wonder about too, like how we define useful, you know, I'm thinking, I've been evaluated as a teacher, as an instructor, and sometimes people are just mean and rude.
Well, that's what we're trying to,
There's nothing to be actionable about from those.
well, that's what
I
we,
can see.
that's the point that I'm making, is that that's what, when we get some off the cusp comment or some like, what is the point? Like, there's, what can we do from this? What's the problem? How do we solve it? This really has nothing to do with her leadership. It's for venting, right? So that's when I say filter, we're not filtering, like, we've had hard conversations, we're not filtering that, we're filtering the comment that's like, doesn't really.
It doesn't help somebody improve.
Right, it's not gonna,
I'm assuming that's one of the questions on the survey for the youth. What are actionable steps you would like to see?
Have you guys done any of those surveys for your kids when you?
I mean,
It's
the
been a long
previous,
time.
the previous principals?
Pre-
Yeah.
They're pretty standard.
Yeah.
And, you know, questions are very valid.
When will the parent one come out?
That's what we're working on.
So we need to
ASAP.
help with outreach
ASAP.
with that. I think that's
That's right. Next, bylaws. What is that?
So, maybe I can just do the update of the whole business section. Because we're on this way, so we can just, you can skip me,
Okay,
skip bylaws for now and then just go to the vote part.
sounds
Is
good.
that sound okay? Okay.
Next one is communications.
Well, I think at this point, we're still establishing our committee. We've got Keith and I know it was Lauren and then Michelle, and if there was somebody else in last week's meeting, I think our next steps would be just reaching out to each other and getting us all on the same page, as far as some actionable steps, but I don't know if there's anything from you guys that you want us to actionably do in the next month, but I do think to your point, like, especially with the principal evaluation, that our communication as an LSC is transparent to our community so that everyone is aware that this is one of our major, it's under the umbrella of the LSC authority, and so it's something that I think we should really make sure the community is aware of. So maybe we can figure out best ways to communicate that the evaluation is happening, and really get parent feedback on the evaluation, and make sure they know what is happening, how it's happening, and when it's happening. But if there's any other thoughts on areas of communication as far as our responsibilities as an LSC that we want to share with the community, willing to hear those now.
The Pierce LSC email, is that under the LSC Communications Committee purview, or is that under the Secretary's purview?
For now, it's under mine.
Okay. So you're the only one that gets emails? Okay.
You should, too,
Yeah, I think you're on it.
Well, I'm not getting
right?
it.
That's the one where you.
That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking, because I'm not getting it, so I was trying to figure out
I'll make sure that you're on it.
if I'm, okay.
And I'll make sure you're on it.
Is that something that we want
It's like,
everyone to have access to? Is that okay to do?
Makes sense to me.
I don't know if everybody wants.
so is it like a Google, it's a Google group? I mean, it's an
It's a
email.
Google, yeah,
Okay.
it's a Gmail. I would
Got it.
prefer if everybody was on it actually, because that would take a little bit of,
Can we make sure though that, I'm just thinking about how do we make sure that everybody sees the emails and what the response is then? Like if somebody,
Right, like who's communicating, say somebody says that they would like to join one of our committees, who then responds to it?
yeah,
Yeah.
With the moderator.
yeah.
And my suggestion is that the secretary is the one who has access to it
Yeah.
and responds to the emails and forwards any email that's intended to the committee to the committee.
So if an email is being sent by a parent regarding one of the committees of the LSC, so presumably one of the LSC members is on one of those committees and they can deal with it or forward it or respond, or does everything need to be responded to by the secretary?
Well,
Yeah.
well, so prior to this meeting, that email address got that email about the being able to hear. And then Rocky sent it, you just forwarded it to everybody,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, to me, that
Is
makes
that the
sense.
only email like we've ever received?
There was one the last meeting, a parent was asking what is the school planning to do? It was just Lori and I believe the Pierce LLC asking what were the plans for Hispanic heritage. And that one, Lori, principal was saying he responded to. So it was more of a curriculum.
But that way, it at least seems like it's an actionable delivery to all of us instead of like, well, I maybe saw it, or maybe Nicole hasn't checked it in 2 weeks, but we assume she's seen it.
Yeah, or similarly, I was suggesting like an answer to Matthew's question about like, it's about a committee, move back forward that to committee chair.
But if we're all on the email group, then somebody within that group potentially should be able to respond to that person and copy the Pierce LSC.
In that committee.
Right.
Maybe
That's right.
what I would, because I can't respond to equity committee.
Right. Well, that's the thing, like one of the parents who wasn't here said that they were interested, and I suggested they email the committee, and coming in there, they said that they did. I didn't get it, so I was like, okay, fine. I don't have it. But we just like add everyone and figure out how to respond.
We also, some of us also have our own personal, like, our personal LC email addresses that we put on the website, so far I've gotten nothing. But I forget what my point was gonna be. I lost my train of thought.
I think if everybody's on there, then nobody's responsible for it. So I guess my preference is for the secretary to be responsible for getting the emails to who they're intended to go to. So if they're intended for a committee, people are using this email just because they don't know who to email, right? So we're just like
Yeah.
sending it who it was intended to get to.
That makes
And
sense.
you go beyond there, just like, say they're Rocky, like,
Yeah.
sick or, just so that.
So we should at least have 2 people.
Or could we just say, if you want to be on it, can you be on it? Like, say, I would love to be on it, just so I am in the loop of like, anything, yeah, I mean,
You don't respond. basically.
yeah, but having you be the one that actually responds and delegates
It
it
makes a
out.
lot of sense. You didn't hear the communication person?
Yeah.
We're all just like, I just love to be in the know.
The voluntold chairperson. Very good. Excellent.
Can I make one comment about committees and then I'll before we, are you about to bounce to the next old business item?
Maybe.
I noticed, when I was reading about committees again today, that, our bylaws say that each committee will, I'm sorry, I'm having, vision problems, actually, I got this one. Because my contact lens, I think something has changed, like I can't really identify people as written. But, so give me a second. It says, committee shall have a representative attend meetings monthly to provide written reports to the LSC. Such report shall be received no less than 5 business days prior to the next regular scheduled LSC meeting and shall be distributed to LSC members in advance of the meeting. I'm wondering, do we want to hold, how hard and fast do we want to hold committees to giving us written reports? For example, if they can't be here. I mean, it seems like that's also a way to be more efficient with, if we review the report, then we may just kind of ask some questions instead of having the report. But because it's in the bylaws, I wanted to mention that it's there.
It's sad, and actually, that shows, I saw that there's gonna be a stop time later, which I'm not trying to like bump ahead, but I think that speaks to the thing.
Yeah, so this is my second time on the LSC. Day 1 of my first meeting on the first LSC, we talked about that. We've been talking about this for a long time.
About whether to make that to be.
That's right, and I think that it just kind of depends on the committee, it depends on the topics and people's overall availability to provide these reports ahead of time. Like, so the equity committee, we were really adamant on sending that out before the meeting, and then life happened. So I think, I definitely think we need to try and get that done, especially as Svetlana mentioned. It would shorten the meeting some, but if people don't have the time to do it, then they don't. I think
My
it's.
concern is just that because committees are supposed to report to the LSC, they're an extension of the LSC, how do we know what's going on if we're not, it's either in a person or.
So the report is different, is that different than the meeting minutes?
That's like, yeah, I think so.
It doesn't have to be that bad, right? And now the report is like 4 bullet points.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want us to create another document.
I have an idea.
Yeah.
I, as a secretary, reach out to the chair of each of these committees a week before we meet and say, what do you
What you
have
got?
to share out?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know.
And emphasize that it doesn't have to be fancy.
Yeah, exactly.
I know some of the chairs are, so.
Okay, I'll read.
I had to, the other thing I just wanted to mention for the record is that they communicate the OMA who is tall,
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Committee portion has taken about half of our meetings so far. Well, committee and committee, so 8 and 9 together have been half the time we've been together today. So I think that, but it's good, it's all, none of it's fluff, like it's all important information. Yeah, so I'd like to get information.
Mhm. right, let's vote. Next item, old business, vote on updated bylaws.
Okay, so I sent along the bylaws revisions with 10 days notice so that we could vote on them today. The changes are, we added our student representative and updated the number of LSC members. We removed PAC, we removed the executive committee, and we added the equity committee. So those are the changes, and I'd like to motion to approve the bylaws with those changes.
I have one question. Are we not updated with the safety security committee? Have you changed that?
Yeah, that's the next update.
Should we wait till it happens?
I am in favor of voting this in, and then, who knows, when the next time, there might be something else.
So to add to that, Joanna, I don't know if the bylaws committee needs to be a committee either.
That was the next question, is it like an ad hoc thing at the beginning of every term, or is it continuously like living document that's gonna be updated throughout? That was my question.
In general, I mean, there are no set rules as to like, you can't make updates to the bylaws.
Right.
I think that just, this is our third meeting. I think we're now growing into getting, used to it. I don't expect there to be that many more changes.
Yeah.
But-
Go on that next one, because we have to still do the safety security change after this. So when that change is done, we can like make it dormant, kind of how we did with safety security.
Yeah. My only comment would be like, what happens if there's not enough time and those 10 days kind of come and go? Then we have to wait till 2 months from
Like,
now.
do we need to remove it from the bylaws, or can it just be there dormant? Because
That, I don't know. I don't think it
Or that.
Yeah.
Or that.
Because we
There's just
also,
not gonna be any reports.
there's also two roles that we have filled in the bylaws, Secretary of Arms and the Parliamentarian. So those are
Yeah.
also just sitting there.
Yes.
Yeah, those two are not gonna fill, right, on this term of the
Red or white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I
Oh,
mean,
no.
So we'll just leave it in there, we're not using it like the other two, that's fine with me.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
It seems like it's sort of similar to the safety thing, where it's like, we are dedicated to making sure these issues are addressed, and it's being handled
Differently.
differently.
Yeah.
The committee doesn't seem quite as necessary, because we know you guys are responsible for doing the updates, but it's okay that we don't have an official committee, but that we are addressing the bylaw.
We're not liable.
We're not competitive promotional media from the bylaws going forward, I don't think.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see any harm kind of in it even staying on an agenda,
Yeah.
so that I think the only thing that, the downside that I could foresee is somebody coming in, I'm becoming more familiar with all this with each new meeting. If somebody's coming in fresh and we have all this internalized protocol, then, they don't know that coming in. So if we just keep it in there and we say, is there anything new with the bylaws committee? No. Okay, next thing.
Yeah.
And then there's still a space for it if somebody's like, I have a huge concern about the bylaws. Right.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way about it, like, what if we need it later, especially for the safety and security committee? I guess for bylaws, I could also see it just kind of moving into like another role, like the vice chair, there's not much of a role, so it could be like the updating the bylaws is the responsibility of the vice chair, the secretary, whoever we want it to be.
Yeah.
So we could always write the bylaws in responsibility into somewhere else so that it doesn't just disappear, like it exists somewhere. But that's not what I'm motioning for at the moment.
Well, and I'm saying too, that if we keep it on the agenda, then if we did want to modify safety and securities so that in the bylaws, maybe it says dormant as of October 2022 or something, then at the next meeting, we just say, we're voting on that, and then we vote on it, so that things can be addressed, even though they're probably going to be heavily weighted on beginning and end of the year or something.
So we can go ahead and vote on update bylaws as they are right now, because we're not going to change it.
Things to be
Yeah,
moved on.
just let it.
Right.
I think it should be right with the.
Yeah.
I think that was an important
Yeah.
question.
Motion.
I want to get to this one at least before.
Okay.
That's enough.
I would like to motion to approve the updated bylaws.
And I second.
All right.
All those in favor?
All in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. Motion passes. New business. So we have a couple of items here, that's 6 total. First one is something that was brought up by Evan, adopting norms. I think that is, something that I had thought about bringing up and I never did. So I'm glad that you brought it up. During my tenure in the former LSC, we did have norms that we communicated or shared at the beginning of each meeting, and then we checked on towards the end of the meeting, right before adjourning. Evan's suggestion was to essentially mirror our norms, those of the current that the teachers and staff use. And he shared that in an email. I think we all got those.
Shall I read them out loud? Or everybody's?
For our esteemed audience, I will do that.
You do not have to.
Well, we might have people joining in online as well. It's basically be an active, engaged, contributing participant by sharing your practice and actively listening to others. Be flexible and respectful of others' time and decisions. Be open to other people's truths and perspectives. Be reminded of differences in cultural and social backgrounds. Be transparent about concerns, challenges, and misunderstandings. Be reflective, collaborative, and supportive. Always take the work back to student achievement. What can we do to make things better for our students, both academically and socially?
Social, emotional?
Socially, emotionally, yeah, emotionally, yes. I think we're wordsmith that one. Respect student and staff member confidentiality, unless there's a threat to safety. I personally like it, so I like to make a motion to adopt these norms as part of the LSC norms. Yes, of course.
I'm a fan of norms like facilitate classrooms and anyone who has knows that norms are important. But I think sometimes terms should be unpacked. So like engaged, what does it look like? What does it sound like? And I don't mean to be pedantic about this, but I'm not comfortable voting on something unless we all like have a common understanding of it. And some of these might seem like, that we're just voting on what's there on the page, but I like the practice. And I don't want to have like an extended conversation about that, but I'm not prepared to vote on that.
Okay. So what do? Do we not vote on it? Okay.
I think we should vote. I think it's very clear and simple. It's something we need to go forward. It doesn't take, this is something that we can put value into our meetings. It's not something that it takes that we need to be, it's not a law or something, you know what I'm saying? I think it's more like we want to be integrity, we want to be united in what we're doing here. So I don't see what we need to. I think it's time we can reflect a little more and we say, hey, we want to move on. I don't want to see us step back, and wait, It's my own personal opinion, but I'm ready to go. I take a good time and I say, wow, at least somebody's thinking about the whole purpose of the LSC in this general. And for me, I would love to vote today. This is why I'm waiting today to at least be able to be more proactive and continue to it. I mean,
I would say if there's nothing specific that you want to address, then that's abstaining makes sense.
I think this is a great start. And I have the same background with norms that Kathleen's talking about, and I don't have anything specific to delve into to add to it. So I think it's a really good beginning.
Kind of can be changed.
So Kathleen, just for clarity, are you wanting to talk about it so you feel we are all on the same page as far as our understanding of the norms go?
I think there are words that need to be unpacked. Okay. You know, like what does engagement look like? It may be fine for some people to, be on their phone. Other people, for some people, it might be you just show up and that's engagement.
What about leaving?
It's like in the classroom, often, I try to have students generate the norms, and respect always comes up. And what is it? What does it look like? What does it sound like? So that's where I'm coming from on it.
I don't think anyone should be sitting here going, you didn't comply with the norm, I think this is just a general starting point to just hold us accountable at this time, and we can always revisit it if we need to, like things came up in the last council. We need to revisit some of our norms, we should use some of our. I would feel comfortable voting as well.
Okay. Any other comments? And sorry for, speaking of norms, sorry for jumping into the vote before asking if there were discussions coming through. So with that, I would like to make a motion to adopt the norms as we wrote them, with the understanding that there's a couple of formatting issues. There's a parentheses that's missing.
Look at me,
The teacher. And make sure that we just have these norms. So again, that's right. after editing them. So again, I'd like to make a motion to adopt these norms for purposes of running our LSC meeting.
With the understanding that it could also come back.
That's right. That's right.
Then I will second that.
All right. All in favor?
So you're not, no.
Wait, who seconded that?
I don't do that.
There was a
I second.
misfire the first time,
The grammatically incorrect.
Wait, yes.
It's a procedural question because I'm new. If we want to come back to something like that, or anything, does it also go under new business? Where does it go?
That's a good question. I think it should because it's been voted. Like the whole thing about the bylaws, we had like, what, 2 postponements or something like that, or at least we even had it before, so.
Usually it goes under new business because if we send something that wants to be added to the agenda, usually when the call is out, like what do you want to add to the agenda, it's a matter of new business. So you would say like, I want the norms, and so that would be a bullet point that we're going to revisit the norms, but it's a new visit, even though we're revisiting. That makes sense.
which is an opening opportunity. And
That's
a
right.
business.
Very good. The next item here is a vote on the fundraising proposal for both the book fair that's going to be held, as well as monies that will be generated from the parent basketball league. So I'd like to make a motion to approve both of these fundraising proposals.
Did I miss that? Was that
Are we supposed to see like a lease agreement or proposed funds that will be?
So the book fair is somewhere around here. Is that, so that was something that I think Michelle, is that the
Oh, is
one
that
right there? Is that the one?
Yeah, this is the book fair.
Okay, Jim, you guys can serve me, but I gotta go to class.
So for the basketball league though, I don't have any. One second.
The basketball league, I believe that is the league that's been here for years. The other
Right.
group of play basketball.
Right.
Gym.
Right. Yeah, I'm not seeing it.
Do you know who, put this on the agenda item, the parent basketball?
So both of these were asked, were requested by Lori. So I didn't actually ask her for, so maybe we don't vote on these, but we ask her, I mean, we don't vote on the parent basketball league, whether it's, funding proposal and all leasing agreement, but the book fair, we have,
Yeah,
We have the book there.
we have to propose.
So does also just leave the leave of the month?
No, he's locking the door.
Oh.
Yeah, this.
appreciate that.
I think the Matthew signs
This one, yes, I can sign it, but I think it goes back to Lori.
If we vote on it.
Okay, so what I need to do ASAP is to reach out to Lori and ask about these two. If she's not gonna, is she gonna be here the next meeting?
She'll be here tomorrow for last day.
Well, the last day. Okay.
Obviously, you have principal function for LSC meetings, do they?
Yeah, it's just saying, yeah.
What, you want me to text her?
I can email her.
Okay.
Because then I have a trail and be like, hey,
Okay,
can we get the documentation for these two?
and if you don't, I know tomorrow's the last day, if you don't hear back from her, if you want to text me tomorrow, I could save her in passing.
I'll do that. I'll do that. Thank you.
We can still vote on the leasing agreement without her.
We haven't seen it. Is that okay with people?
Yeah, we don't know what we're approving.
For the basketball or for the?
For the basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we've done that in the past where we kind of like pre-approved we pre-approved for Zany to.
Make it
To do
Yeah.
I feel like it might also be like time sensitive.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, like, that this question should. Okay. So I think it should be okay. I mean, so she'll send it like as soon as she gets the request. I think it's just a matter of making sure that we get that before she leaves.
In the past, when we started getting requests for leasing agreements again, we just like pre-approved. If they had done it before, we didn't do it again.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There's a note here, or there's a line item here for the LSC chairperson that is for fundraising events with or by an outside organization. I don't know that the parent basketball. Oh, I'm sorry. This is PSO, so that doesn't apply. Like I really don't need to be signing this. So I think it's fine to just vote on it and say we approved it. Go ahead and sign this, and then it should be fine. Okay. All right. Okay. So with that said, I'd like to make a motion to approve the fundraising proposals for the book fair and the parent basketball league. Alright. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? One abstention. Motion passes. Next one is again, so similar to what we just talked about, leasing agreement on the, for the parents basketball league. Same thing. I'd like to make a motion to approve the leasing agreement for parent basketball league, pending, Lori sharing those with us so we can understand what that entails.
There's just a clarifying question. So we're leasing space for the league and they're.
No, they play in this gym. It's a Pierce parent. I had them in second grade, or in sixth, seventh grade, and it's a group of dads that usually play in this gym. I don't know if they're leasing, that's why I texted her to ask her, but they've been doing it. Oh, they haven't submitted anything.
Oh,
Okay.
so you can't do anything on that. So it seems like everything's kind of called a leasing agreement, even if there's no payment involved. If anybody's using the space,
Exactly.
we call it a leasing
We
agreement.
need to have some kind of agreement in place.
Yeah, so the vote is to allow the parent basketball league to take place here.
Okay.
But we
Okay.
don't have anything, Lori hasn't seen any proposal.
Paperwork, yeah.
Which is kind of weird that it's on the agenda.
Well,
Yes.
because they probably didn't submit it, they probably asked her about it. So then they didn't submit it. That's how it worked out.
So she doesn't need us to vote on.
I just asked her, I said, okay, so you don't need to approve anything?
Yeah.
Bubbles.
Okay.
And then the bubbles go away, and I'm like, oh, I guess you want this one.
Yeah,
We just move forward on the next one and come back.
yeah, we'll come back to that one. All right, so the next,
Not until they submit unless you want to approve ahead
So exactly,
of.
yeah.
so what do you think?
I'm comfortable approving ahead of, because
Yeah.
this has been going on for years.
Yeah.
It's not like some random.
I play one game. I don't have those. One game. I walked away, I'm not doing this.
You walked away though.
I
so you
did,
get-
I know, I wasn't trying to go away, you're right. So,
I would motion to,
okay,
to just vote on it, because then if they come, then at least they can enjoy using them.
okay,
Yeah, they don't have to wait for our next meeting.
It doesn't,
Okay.
yeah, there's no money exchanging or anything.
right, exactly.
I'll second.
So Jerry motions, you second, all right? All in favor? Opposed? All in favor? Aye. Okay. The motion passes.
One less,
Yes.
Totally work for you.
The next one is voting on meeting stop times. So that was,
Can I speak about
yeah,
that?
of course.
Okay, I'm sorry. So Mr. Chad submitted that, but this is something he and I consider out that greatly. It's a really, at our last two councils we served on, we've gone on 3-4 hour meetings, and it gets to a point where we don't feel it's like very productive. So we'd like to propose stopping at 8 o'clock, because it is a long day to, be at the meeting for everyone. So, and of course, with the understanding, there will be times where we need to then schedule a special meeting or an executive session meeting, but just having them in mind to try to get our business done in 2 hours. Also, I've attended some other LSC meetings, and it seems like ours are on the very, very long end. My son is a student rep at his LSC, and I was shocked that it was like an hour. So, we really like that we consider.
I'm not comfortable voting, on meeting stop time for a couple of reasons. I think that there are interim things we can do to be more efficient. The example was given earlier about, committee reports coming to us, reading them ahead of time. I think same with PSO, FOP, if they could send us something in writing, that way we can just spend more time on the agenda asking and clarifying questions. I'm concerned that people, we have things to vote on, and I'm concerned that it's gonna abruptly and artificially truncate council business that needs to happen. And I think that we could do a number of things, including the example given before, I understand that there were some things done at the end of last council in the spring that trimmed the meetings to about an hour. I understand that from.
So the only reason why the mini meetings were truncated to an hour is because there was no business to discuss. All the committee meetings were any, nothing to report.
So,
Meetings for 3-4 hours.
so here's some examples. Each council member could be limited to a grand total of 10 minutes speaking time.
There's actually something in the LSC that when someone brings up a topic, I forget what I read, but two people have to speak before it's been brought back to it. I look to find it again. There are time limits on this, on the speaking.
We already have comments on public participation. I mentioned reports, idea from committees, and PSO and friends of peers. I went through the last meeting and watched it and clocked everything. And the majority of time was spent talking about committees. And, you know, I think that was a conversation where it seemed like there was a lot that we didn't know what we didn't know. However, some of the questions asked have been answered by people reading the reference guide, for example. So, you know, I think if there are debates or dilemmas to talk through, we should try to limit those conversations, just throwing this out there, to 15 minutes, for example. There could be a council member documenting if it's a debate, here are the points that are coming up on either side, or if it's you know, if it's something where there's big questions happening, let's get those down on paper so that we can then say, okay, these are next steps we need to take, or this is what the motion should be. So those are the ideas that I would like to see us try before we say, no, the meeting's over at 8, because how are we going to get through the things we need to get through? And I don't want to see us call special meetings if we
Right.
need to.
Definitely pretty well.
So-
But I think we have to say, maybe like another 2 hours, another time.
So the second part of that was, if we have not completed the agenda, a motion can then be made to extend the meeting time with unanimous vote of agreement. So, for example, a motion to extend the meeting by 30 minutes.
Unanimous, so then one person could end the meeting. So, I mean, on a related note, so I submitted this vote on timekeeper without even knowing that Evan had submitted meeting stop times, and this is something that I think I brought up during our organizational meeting, is that I'd be happy to act as timekeeper if that would be helpful. And I guess the idea there would be that anytime somebody submits something for the agenda, they have a time that they request, you know, so it's not like Principal Amy's the one eating up all the time, but like she would say, okay, I need 15 minutes, each committee could say I need 5 minutes, and then me as timekeeper can time everybody and let them know when their time's up. And so then in theory, you should know, and we already have in the bylaws, public participation is 10 minutes.
Right.
So 10 minutes per session and 2 sessions, 2 minutes per person.
Right.
So that would be my suggestion that I wanted to propose for a vote, is to add, I don't have to be the timekeeper, I'm proposing that we have a timekeeper, and I'd be happy to do it if you all want to.
So going back to the meeting times, the meeting stop times, instead of saying 8 o'clock, we don't know when the meeting really starts until it's, you know, it can start at 6:15 or 6:30 for all we know.
Yeah, I'd say.
Right. So could we consider,
Time, chunk of time.
correct, so we,
I have an idea about that.
right,
To
so.
make that happen.
So could be, so it'd be a contingency, the 30-minute contingency is what I would call the contingency. So we could agree on a, I'll call it baseline, I guess. You know, it could be 2 hours, 2 hours 15, 2 hours 30, whatever. And if we need to go beyond that, that's when that vote would come up. Or, I mean, I personally don't think that's, the reports, the committee reports thing, while I think it's great and it's in the bylaws, again, because this is a committee made of volunteers, we won't always have the time to provide this information within the time that we're striving to get to. And because of that, there's going to be, I mean, Michelle, had quite a few things to talk about, and Chad or Kevin weren't even here. If they were, that was going to, only increase the time, and neither was that.
But these things are really about some time, and I'm wondering if we, in addition to this committee doing a report, why could it not be expanded to, for example, the community groups? A lot of what came from PSO, other than the request, was information that can be in a bullet point. Like, we did this event to this date, you need this much. And then if you want to talk more about it, anyone can expand on anything. But we honestly, because we were going to talk about time, we've been here for 2 hours and 15 minutes since the beginning of the meetings. We started 15 minutes late. And 50 minutes of that time was just numbers 8 and 9, community groups and community reports. So are we coming up to a point where, because we cannot hold others accountable for responsibilities they said they would undertake, and now we're doubling the length of our meeting? And now we're going to cut off, because of new business and public participation was the last thing. So then someone else can sit here for 2 hours waiting for public participation again, and then they go home and never spoke. So that's what my problem with cutting it short versus if we try whatever combination of these ideas. I'm really not making it more efficient with you guys on this. But if we can, make it tighter and more efficient versus just cutting off at the end, I think that would serve better.
To piggyback on that, so anybody I think who's created agendas for meetings beyond the space, I shouldn't say anybody, but I'll just speak for myself. The way I've done it is a lot of time frames and ask people, is this 5 minutes good? I'm gonna put 5 minutes on the agenda. So bracketing that and saying, so an FOP about 5 minutes each, is that sufficient? And going from there. If they say, no, we need 30, then we're gonna go 6 already.
So that's coupled with a timekeeper. Then so we need to decide for each one of these committee reports how much time we want to allot, whether the report is being done on an ad hoc or short of having provided the if it's spoken versus through a note that was sent to the LSC.
And if it's helpful, from the last meeting, a lot was pretty brief. Lori raises up the high level points, and she just spent 10 minutes. There's a Q&A that was 10 minutes. And then there were 18 minutes for budget approvals and internal accounts because we had some questions. And then the public participation, the first one was 13 minutes. The Northwestern presentation was very substantive. It was 16 minutes. But like I was saying, a lot of this conversation was going about committees, and that was 48 minutes.
So what would be an appropriate or suggested time for each community readout?
I think they could say what they need, depending on, they tell you, and they say, put us on the agenda, here's how long we need. But yeah, I just want to second everything Svetlana said. I think I agree with everything, every comment she made, and I also want to add the downside of us not sending each other information before these meetings is we're all hearing stuff for the first time in these meetings. And you can get blindsided in these meetings with that information pretty easily. You need time to digest that information, to consider your votes beforehand. So all of that, thinking about it, digesting it, that can happen in other spaces so that we come to this meeting ready to vote. So that's kind of the result of us not sending things in advance is lengthening these meetings as well.
We've come to a pretty good compromise that we need to put in place these efficiencies. And that we also, it's an unpopular opinion, but this commitment is rigorous. It's a asking a lot of us. I don't know if I could continue doing this for many, many, many years to come. So I think we've all volunteered to be on this. It's tedious, it's long, it can get exhausting. And I think we should definitely put in these layers of ideas that we have to make it more efficient, but that is the beast that we've all agreed to do. So it's just maybe not sustainable, and that's unfortunate. I think everyone's brought up some really tangible ideas to how to make it a little bit better, but I also think at the end of the day, we've committed to be on the LSC, and unfortunately, if that's means 3 hour meetings, we also only have 6 meetings for the rest of the school year, unless we call special meetings. But we only have 6 LSC meetings left this year. So in 23 months to talk about a month's worth of happenings at the school doesn't feel genius.
I think moving forward with the timekeeper and any proposed new business, we request how much time they think they need. And if we can include that in the agenda, then there can be an expectation generally, as well as the timekeeper, sort of governing that. To me, that's a tangible sort of halfway between where we are now, where it's sort of just like, well, this is on here. Does anybody have anything? It's kind of just open air. And then time gets away from us, versus just saying it has to stop, hard stop, and no other structures from beginning to end are in place.
So what I'm hearing is, instead of looking at it from the overall meeting or the meeting overall running time, we want to be a little bit more tactical about the actual content of each section and limit those, or try to.
Mm-hmm. I mean, can we just say like most, like everything is in a 5-minute increment of, most things are, I mean, especially the recurring things. I don't know. I in my mind, I don't see it being really difficult of, like principal report is probably 10 minutes, and each committee's thing is probably 5 minutes, and we already have an idea of public participation. Any new business could be, it's like if there's an assumed 5 minutes or something, you know. If we don't overcomplicate it more than just like 5 minutes is kind of the standard.
And reaching out to committee chair people to say a week before, what can you share as a report, so that we can look at that ahead of time.
And timekeepers say it's now been 5 minutes that we've talked about this.
Yeah.
So that people say, okay, cool, let's wrap it up.
To your point, I think all our responsibilities, I kind of feel that way about the committees. I'm so grateful that people, and I know it sounds, but people with families and children are taking time out of their lives to participate in all these different ways, and that's amazing. But then they also need to hold on, you know, they do the entire responsibility, report back to us, and again, it doesn't have to be actual like paragraphs. But I don't know if we just have that right now, but if we feel maybe next time around that it would save us even more time, where we wouldn't have to go, because 5 minutes each committee is half an hour. So if we wanted, for example, to do a 2-hour meeting, that's a quarter of the time just on that. But sometimes, like, none of us has a question on it. If you just read, you know, a little point of, you know, what we did last month. I don't want to be a stickler and put more on them or whoever's in the committees, but I also don't want to have longer meetings for us because someone doesn't want to send in something that's part of their
It's an expectation.
responsibility. Yeah. So I'm really not holding people to that also. Because I really do believe I'll cut time without cutting efficacy. I'll say that without sacrificing anything.
It's very meta.
So, what are our suggestions for moving forward? Do we have Is this something we want to
Yeah, I think this is fine.
discuss more, think through some more?
Well, Nicole
I don't
already
know that
said
we're
she's
ready.
willing to be timekeeper.
Right,
So
that's the
Can we motion, I motion for Nicole to be timekeeper at LSC meetings.
Second.
All in favor of Nicole being timekeeper? All opposed, abstain,
I'm gonna abstain.
Jerry abstains.
All right.
So we still.
And then maybe we could say, if there's 6 more meetings, in a couple meetings, we can revisit if that's helped at all, like doing this, or if we do need to evaluate having a hard stop.
We can revisit, just like, we can revisit the more.
I would find that, yeah, like, because we put, I was gonna say, we could vote on it later, instead of voting against right now, vote to table it for the next session or two to see if, how this is all working.
I'd say maybe January, we could see, we'd have 2 meetings. Oh, there isn't one.
No.
Okay, so maybe February.
We'll probably end up being a special meeting in December with them.
With principal value.
Next year is November 17th.
Okay. So about item D then, vote on meeting stop times, we want to put that on pause? Or do we want to vote it down? Or have a vote on it?
I guess if,
Not if they've had a motion.
Right, that's what I'm saying, so I'm kind of looking at everyone here to just sort of, what's the best way forward?
Writing all of these ideas that we have come up with to try to make the meeting, sorry, my voice is cracking. Okay, cool. So Kathleen, I'll put them in notes and then I'll share them with everybody. Like, these are the things that we're gonna do together to try to make these meetings more efficient.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know if it matters if we vote or not. I just don't know right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with what was said. In order, we need to come ready to vote one way or the other. And there's been so much discussion on this topic. I don't know that we got to the bottom of it, right? So we need to definitely talk some more. And I'm looking at the timekeeper here. Not too long, too much longer, right?
I think we have some things that we know
That
how we can implement
That's
implement them moving forward, and sort of setting this expectation by discussing it right now. And I think that's probably all that's really necessary.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So then we can move on to the next item. Vote on striving to provide hybrid access to LSC meetings.
I can start.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hope I'm not opening a can of worms, because I think we discussed this at our organizational meeting, but we didn't really have a proper vote on it maybe. So I wanted to bring it up again for a vote, the idea of striving for hybrid. We had a long conversation at the organizational meeting. I think it was 45 minutes, speaking of timing, about the format of our meetings, and there were a lot of logistical barriers to hybrid that we talked about. We do know that hybrid and virtual meetings are still okay because of the emergency proclamation that's in place. So it's up to the chair and the council, I think the chair primarily, if we allow members to participate hybrid. We plugged in the owl for the first time last meeting, and if anyone's watched the YouTube, I would say it was a success. You can hear pretty well, you can see pretty well. So I would motion to strive for hybrid meetings, meaning that we turn the owl on the other way now too, and see if we can hear, either a member, LSC member participants or public participants speaking through the owl, so kind of with our current setup here. So,
So it's possible for somebody on the other side to speak through it?
yeah, that's a speaker also.
I came into the community rep for County. I ran into Nick right outside my car on the way over here today. And I mentioned on the way over here, and he's like, oh, we've been hybrid for like this one. So apparently County, their actual council members are often virtual. Yeah.
Is that what you're asking about, whether or not, like, as members, that you're saying we could also attend?
Yeah, so I guess I'm saying, yeah, we like strive towards that hybrid while it's allowed here, like, under the governor's proclamation. So that would include us as well. So I know last year a meeting was canceled because members were sick, we didn't have a quorum because of COVID. I know people here today aren't feeling great, so I think while we're still in a pandemic and still can be within the rules and allow hybrid and the technology, if it continues to kind of work in our favor, that I'd like to motion as a council that we strive towards that goal. And I say strive towards hybrid, acknowledging like all the logistical challenges of it that the previous council faced and that we discussed in our community or our organizational meeting.
But there are, you mentioned the disaster declaration, and so like pre-COVID, if a member, like if we're talking about LSC reps wanted to attend virtually, they can, but only if the bylaws allow for that. And so our bylaws don't allow for that. But if they did, there are only 3 cases where you can do that, like employment, travel, for example, if Byron, the situation right now, illness, or personal illness or disability. I'm sorry, I'm so cold, I'm shivering. Employment purposes, for a family or other emergency. And then under the disaster declaration, it's at the LSC chair discussion, but it also has to be in the bylaws.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do that.
And I personally wouldn't be interested in like policing anyone. Like if someone thought they had a sitter and then they don't, like that's an emergency, that's fine, in terms of making things that apply, but we're just kind of honor system, if we don't,
But if it's my understanding is correct, the OWL, I don't know this, but I just want to state it for the record that the OWL enables people remotely to watch, but their public participation can only happen if they're remote, but their public participation can only happen through email. And so what you're proposing is to enable them to talk to us through.
Which right now is just us pressing a button. Like that's the only thing that's preventing, like, Byron, for example, from participating, in this meeting.
So how is it regulated as far as who is able to join?
In terms of like preventing a Zoom
I
bot.
just remember there were issues last year before.
Yeah.
About,
So I guess I'd rather not get into that whole conversation as part of this vote, because then we can go down a lot of rabbit holes, but we can, like, one example is webinar format where you don't see anybody else, you pin, who everybody can see in the meeting. There's ways to
training, I'm sorry to interrupt, but in the training, you know how they take us off of mute when it's Q&A time.
Yeah.
So that there's no chat enabled.
You can like disable everyone's video and audio. There's like there's 2 different settings. One where it's webinar where you just see the council members and hear them. And then one where you can see like the names of everybody who's there. That's not the webinar format. It's just a regular.
And who would be in
format.
charge of doing that?
That's a great question. I'd love like in our bylaws maybe to have like a role where, because we've got like these roles that we're not using, but I think there's roles that we can use too, like Keith has stepped in as this kind of setup role with this owl situation. And I don't think he should be solely responsible for that, but to have somebody who is responsible and then others who can like be back up. But yeah, I hear the concerns about the Zoom bombs, like, but absolutely preventable.
I second striving for that.
Could we, like, set a date or maybe like the next meeting where we would, maybe all of us, maybe whoever comes with this, SOP in place, I guess if we have a document that says this is how we're gonna do it, like, the moderator will be X. Because also if you do it from home, that's what I'm thinking also, and I'm hoping to making it hybrid for everyone. But then, like, for example, if I want to vote or say something, how do I make it known, you know, that like I want to talk versus just talking out loud on the computer. There's a lot of like detailed things into your point that we can't discuss all of them right now, but they're going to have to be, like, we're going to do this, but they're going to have to be ironed out sooner than later. And I'm glad to work on it myself, like, I'll come prepared in the next meeting with an idea of how I think it could or should flow, and of course, we won't discuss it, but.
I just would like to say, I understand the hybrid and I support the hybrid. I think council members should also consider to be allowed to be hybrid. And you're saying those Zoom bombs preventable and what have you, and I'm sure with all the intention that they can be, but we have some really bad experiences, some detrimental experiences to the council as a whole and to individuals watching and who are subjected to it. You run the council, it was very uncomfortable and disturbing and caused a lot of problems within the council as well. So although those things are preventable, I think we need to tread carefully and really consider, because there was harm caused to our community. That's not, what am I trying to say? Can't fix so easily. And harm to people on the screen that aren't able to fix so easily. So, I think that although this is with good intent, and I don't think this is with good intent, we need to really consider those, because when those things happen, we had to go even more into the team. So.
Would you feel comfortable tabling next time if we can talk about, like, kind of to the point of before what the main words are, striving, if we get the spirit of it, but maybe if we came next time with specific ways to address these concerns, then we can vote to do it or not. But this way we're not, I mean, that's valid, but I'm not saying it can't be addressed and worked on, and I just don't, sitting here right now, I don't know the actual answer to it. And I think that it's making we looked like came together with a solid plan of how we want to execute this, we could vote on that. I don't know, how do you feel about it, or?
I guess I'd like to try this out at our next meeting. I know
I'm not comfortable voting on it.
hybrid. I know like it would take everybody in the room except, one, to pass, so it's a long shot. I guess I could adjust the motion to say, like, strive to provide hybrid, and also say that the next meeting, like, as our first attempt at this would be webinar mode, so that means nobody can talk or be seen, unless we allow it, and like no chat.
I think
So that would be kind of
what I'm
something
saying
that's
about short of a vote, not implementing anything until we have, what you call it,
Standard
like a
operating
proposal.
procedure.
Oh, standard.
Yes, yeah, that's my corporate speech just, without my head. But yeah, basically it's like, you can have it, or even if
Yeah, stand up. Okay. This is how, the step by step, nuts and bolts, and how we do this.
Right.
I feel like we need to do that before we try the thing for reasons like the Jerry stated, the environment is really, it was horrific. And I feel like, people want to see what can we do to prevent that before we implement the plan. What do you think they can do?
I mean, the webinar mode would prevent the Zoom bombing. So, and if there's no chat and there's webinar mode, like nobody can communicate unless you give them permission to.
This is then separate from the council being hybrid, because in that case, you do need to communicate out to you, like to the crowd, to the room.
So we, like from here, like whoever you want to give permission to, like speak and be seen, you can.
So if Byron was on the other end of
Yeah.
YouTube, then we could give him just him access.
Right.
And then the question would just be a moderator.
It wouldn't be just the moderator, it would be all the logistics that are associated with having a
Somebody-
hybrid meeting
Yeah.
and a moderator
And, yeah.
and the location of the meeting. And
Being approved to get in, setting register.
And also, how would it work? Like, we're all kind of voluntarily sharing, like, if, say, Byron's on the other end and we are not paying attention to the monitor, he's trying to speak.
Oh, we got a TV. It's like, we have one of the, we have those view signs, right? So have a view sign, they never up there, and the person.
Could we get best practices from the board?
Yeah, or if I talk to Nick and get the best practices
Yeah.
from what was, for example, how he's doing, we can find out how they're doing. But this is what I mean by recipe, everything we're talking about, like how to put a TV, or how, like, the detailed ways of how to execute this, that's what I mean. We can just reconvene next month and say, this is what I thought about it for more than however many minutes, and this is what I think. And in the meantime, like, I can talk to the Gabby people and see what I can see, you know? Like, again, like, right now, I don't, what Jerry's saying is valid, and I don't know if there's not a way to accommodate for that, but I think sometime, like, we could figure these things out.
I guess that's why I was saying strive towards, because we could constantly be trying to get this perfect. I think the Zoom bombs, we need to know that's not going to happen. But these other logistical details, like I think we're constantly going to be striving towards perfection, and we might never get there. The YouTube right now is not perfect, but we can like strive to continue to improve that, right? So I guess I just wouldn't want, I don't see us getting much farther, just kind of delaying the conversation till next week, like the location is here, the moderator can be me, like what are the other concerns? We're not gonna have a TV next month here.
so I think we need to, I
But
think
why
that,
would we have a TV? It would be good if we wanted one.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the thing, I feel like we're rushing into it, like, I mean, it's good, there's these signs all on the building, like, if we're really gonna go.
Yeah.
And then if we're really gonna go hybrid, why, like, it's at the discretion of the chair, right, but the council members can be hybrid too.
right, and that's kind of like one of the considerations. I mean, we spent a few minutes before this talking about how this is a commitment and how folks are taking time out of their lives to participate, whether that's council members or participants in general, other parents or the community. And accommodations as they currently exist allow for that participation, but for the live input from folks that would be remote. And so short of that, and considerations around disaster proclamation and all of that, which we're very sensitive to, I don't, at the current time, see any reason to change the current format for many reasons. I think that we're trying to get to that, and striving is a very important word here. But again, the consequences of what happened, while they have been addressed, some in some format, some way, still linger for many participants. So I think we need to be just very careful as we're going through this. There are rules, there are policies, but there's also the impact that all of that has on the community and the things that we can do to not only address it, but also prevent or try as much as we can. So I want us to be very conscious of that as we're going through that and understand as many possible ramifications, that these decisions entail. That's all.
I think you articulated that really well. Thank you.
That being said, it is 8:48 time check. So I'd like to kind of put it out there and see how people feel about this item and possibly moving forward.
Right, because it's voted to strive. We could vote to strive.
So the statement is, I guess that's the next question. The word striving, we're going to try to do this eventually.
Yes, I mean, the same thing, and, I'd like to be careful about what the meaning of words, and what exactly that means. I mean, is that the end result? I don't know what that means at this point in time.
Well, I think it's simple. If you don't agree that we should strive to provide hybrid, then you vote no.
So I would like to know what that means.
Well, I think, Nicole also said, I want this for next meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we're in agreement that we want it by next meeting. And if that's what strive means, is by next meeting, then if that's what it means, then that's what it means. But I guess that's what we need to know is the strive means that that's what we're moving toward, not necessarily by November, or does it mean November?
I guess my thought is like striving to provide hybrid. We're halfway there, more than halfway there with the owl. We turn it on, see if people can hear us and we can hear them. That's one step closer. If that's all working fine, we can continue to improve TVs, if the audio visual needs tweaking, things like that, to try to actually provide a hybrid experience. So I think I understand the impact of the Zoom bomb, but I think it's preventable with just webinar mode is just the solution to that. So, and I don't think I don't know, I can provide more information on what that is to the council, if that's still a concern about what that is. I guess really it's at this time, at chair discretion, if LSC members can participate remotely. So I guess it would be helpful to know if that's an option.
I guess if that the answer, if the question is right now at this current time, if the chair is willing to consider this, the answer will be no. But I think that there's a lot to be discussed. There's a lot to be understood, and there are maybe some items that we're not even aware of. Just kind of going forward. But I think that there's enough interest in this option that we definitely need to continue investigating.
And it's not to say that you can't have a special meeting before the next meeting if you feel like you have all your ducks in a row and all of the
Sorry.
Well, and just knowing the nature of technology too, that, you know, we did this last time, but we were still 15 minutes late using this. And I know I fall into this trap all the time of like, it'll be very simple. It's just this and this. And if we can make it actionable steps of like, at the next meeting, I would like to try, my wife, my husband will be on the other line, and they're gonna come in and they're gonna speak through it, and then we see that it works this time. So for this meeting, that is striving to make that happen. That works. The one after that, we're gonna have a TV, we're gonna try and implement it into the system that's working. So if we have actionable steps of these things are working, instead of like, well, I'm gonna figure it out by next meeting, and you guys are stressing me that everything's gonna work.
So you, man.
I think if we do that, then it's also showing to everybody else how it's functioning, and we're able to see those steps. So I would say and those actionable steps can be proposed as part of new business as well.
Would people be in favor of that? Like, we should need to try next meeting to have somebody on the other end of the owl?
How does it work open to one person? Can you have it open to one person and one else?
Yes.
And how do we replicate that experience with every single potential participant? Or we're just going to take a leap of faith that what's happening with that one try is going to be identical or normalized for all the participants that would be wanting to join using that
Yeah, I mean,
medium.
it's not gonna be everything, but it'll be something.
I think at this point, the only thing that we can motion to agree with at the forum is that we want a more actionable steps and specific sort of sub-steps of what we're gonna take to achieve hybrid so that everyone's
And we can discuss those steps in the next meeting. I'll send them a guide saying that we need to all research and come with what we want to show.
Actually, if we can do it a week before the meeting, then we can all read it.
Okay.
So that's.
Give us some time.
Yeah, so, okay, so motion.
I don't think we need a motion for
No,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
I have a hard time keeping track of things you say. What I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna just separately email all that stuff.
It's a quick time of this next time.
Very good.
I guess kind of the question is, can the LSC motion to do this, or only the chair? Or, you know, if we decide next week we want to do this, or are we just trying to convince?
I'll put it in writing and remind
I think that's a good question, because
I don't understand the question.
the question is who can make.
Who can decide? Yeah.
Right. I think the only thing that the chair can say is decide whether or not they want to follow the proclamation, the disaster proclamation. I don't know that, or is the chair allowed, or is it within the chair's purview?
Just get it.
Oh, no. I
You can
didn't get everybody a copy of this.
I don't want a copy of it. I want you to tell me.
It is, it's at your discretion, when you determine, I'm trying to find the exact language. And I'm sorry, on my copy, I marked it all up, and now I'm remembering I did that for easy reference. It says, one second. The head of the public body, AKA the chair for an LSC, can determine that an in-person meeting or a meeting conducted under this act is not practical or prudent because of a disaster. And so that you could either call, for example, not what we're talking about right now, but a virtual meeting for everybody, because, you know, some horrible variant came on, not everyone that does it. Or, you know, by means to Zoom in, it's practical. It's impractical and imprudent for him not to because he's traveling.
Great. Okay. Do you
So
mind?
it's that impractical and imprudent nature of meeting in person as it applies to the whole council or members.
Yeah.
And then, I guess also just to clarify, so without the emergency proclamation, an individual member can also request to dial in remotely. And then the whole council would vote on it at the top of the meeting. So that's not a shared responsibility.
Right.
But this situation would be.
So we're comfortable moving forward then? So, okay.
Okay, to be continued.
All right. Item number 12, public participation.
I have waited.
We're looking at you. I'm sorry.
And it probably could have been done in an email, but I know I would have forgotten. The Hispanic Heritage Showcase was wonderful, and I think this might be a PPLC thing, but a lot of times when we share things with the community that are done in Google Drives, the entire presentation is not available. It's consistently asking people for access or access granted. And I know I brought this up on the last one that was shared, and what happens is when we share it to socials, we get a lot of parents that are like, we don't understand, like, we can see so much, but then we click on this video, and so we field a lot of those types of questions on social media. And so I'd appreciate it if, moving forward, when we share things with the community, that we're mindful of reminding teachers who are making these videos and these pictures and whatnot, that they're allowing anyone with the link to see. Because then it's also requiring the expectation that someone has a Google account, which a lot of people
So I
don't.
think, yeah, that's consistently a problem. And I think that the issue on that end, and we'll have to talk to admin, is if we can share it from our personal, then it would be fine, but we're clearly not wanting to give out
Right.
a personal account. Because, but I also know that I think if you, because my name is, I deal with the news, well, you know, right? I
Right.
deal with the newsletter. Once I grant access to it, that access is granted. So it almost seems like we need a repeating link where like, once you access it one time, you've got the permission, and you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, my newsletter, all parents would request access, now they don't request anymore. So that's something that, maybe, have you emailed Zane about this?
I did. I don't know if I emailed her, but back with the other showcase, the last showcase I think we did in the spring, there were some of the same issues. Like a majority of the showcase was not visible because it was stored on Google Drive. And the workaround we were telling people was, okay, we'll log in under your child's name. Because it seems like anyone with
It's
this.
to be able to be, how it's being, then it wasn't shared properly, because they're public facing. So like the PPLC folder on the drive is public facing. There's public facing folders and then there's school facing folders.
Okay.
So I would encourage you to ask Ms. Amy about making that, because if it's public facing, then you should be able to access it.
Okay.
You should be able, you know what I mean?
Right.
So that's the issue.
Because like these things are, a great deal of time is being spent on making these things for only a small part of the community being able to actually see.
Yeah, let's find out about how it should be public facing.
All right.
We can
That
follow
could
up.
have probably been done in an email, but you know.
No, that's
I decided
important.
to
Thank
see
you.
it first.
Thank you for sticking it. Thank you so much. I'm checking the, well, actually, I wouldn't see it because I don't have access. If somebody has access, can you do us a favor and check the inbox by any chance? The meeting?
It's set up like,
20
it's freezing right now.
I'm actually pretty good
I
right
don't care. I don't care about it.
now. All right. Okay, so we can. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, lock it.
I know, right? All right, so we have just a few items left. The next one is announcements of comments, which Kathleen, thank you for the suggestion to amend or kind of rename it because there was no real section to put comments or to like, put things like that.
I don't think that was me, but okay. So Liz, do we have any? Does anybody have any?
I'm looking around, doesn't look like anyone.
Real quick, I do, and I mean super quick. Keith, I don't want to put more on you, but I wonder if you can document how this is set up and what troubleshooting steps you had to take.
Mhm.
Because I think that that will help us try to be more efficient and also finding answers to trouble that happen. And since you know it best, that's why I'm asking if you could do that, like, in writing, like, what are the steps to follow, and also like if you weren't here, and, you know, somebody could follow those. And the only other thing I just wanted to say is that, I will, go back to committees to communicate the expectation about reports, as gingerly as I can. And also to PSO and FOP if you'd like me to, but Matthew, I didn't want to step on your toes as chair. Okay, I'm happy to do it,
As long as, yeah, I'm totally fine with it.
since I was already communicating with them about that.
Very good. Anything else?
What was this team about?
Just the statutes that pertain to when virtual happen, when hybrid meetings.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna pass them out, but I was still in the time crunch on all of us.
Thank you, Catherine. The next item is, so I put that in here hopefully in anticipation of the norms being accepted, you know, understanding the extension. But the idea here is to sort of check on how we did, right?
I think if people are in the meeting, they should just announce that
Yeah,
instead of just.
and at the beginning
So,
of the meeting,
okay,
yeah. But at the beginning, if they have to leave.
If you have to leave, okay.
so Lori did
Yeah.
tell me,
Yeah.
now, so we didn't announce it, but I think that's a good point. And perhaps I can also emphasize it when I request items to be added to the agenda. I'll say, by the way, you know, please make sure. It sounds like Adolfo has a class that he needs to attend.
We announced that last time.
Okay, so we need to figure out.
But do we fall out of quorum? Like,
Yeah, that's my concern.
like right now, we're trying to fly.
And I actually planned, I had a little side conversation before the meeting with Matthew
totally
about
did.
it. It's bothering me tremendously, I'll just name it, that we could fall out of quorum and then not be able to vote on things, so.
Well, that's the problem, because if I'm here, I better be able to vote.
But I want people to be mindful of that, but also, I think it would be worth adding to the next agenda to discuss what are our expectations of each other.
Yeah.
So,
The quota for our size is 7,
yeah.
right? And so at this point, we would,
You're right.
We'll be fine.
But if I said I guess
right,
But-
and so maybe it's like an announcement, like, we're at quorum right now.
Yeah.
So is everybody committed to staying?
Yeah.
Because if
Right.
not, then we all participate.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, and I think that's important. I think, you know, as a group, we kind of owe it to ourselves. And we all mentioned commitment, like, we're all here, so it makes sense for that to happen. We understand if people have circumstances, but yes, I'll make sure that we can, and, you know, that we secure that from everyone. It's not just.
Real quick to add, that was my concern about voting on norms, but I didn't want to raise this new issue that I knew we would have to talk through.
Understood.
So I was trying not to be passive aggressive, but that's what I was thinking about.
It makes total sense.
I mean, I think emergencies happen, we're all people have things that come up, absolutely. I'm checking in at home, is everything okay? But I do think, like, I personally will be upset if there's something to vote on, and I waited this long and I can't vote.
Yeah.
So we, like,
Absolutely.
we need to, yeah.
You want to help me perhaps craft that? I know you were very passionate about it, and I agree with you, and I think you're on the same boat, or same wavelength. So that's.
Also too, like if people say in the beginning that they're gonna have to leave
Yeah.
early, then
Yeah.
we can like move votes up in the agenda too, to make sure we don't.
You also mentioned that. I appreciate that.
What
Yeah.
if I actually having a meeting at 8?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, which honestly, like, I'm fine with moving all the votes up.
Yeah.
Dark.
Yeah, no, I think that was the thing. I mean, and you brought it up, prior to the meeting. Just trying to make sure that we have it in the, so perhaps it should be after community reports, before committee reports.
The new business development.
That's right. Would that make sense? Or do you want to move that even further up? I mean, the only thing is, if we don't get community reports, then there might be some things to vote on.
I think it's two things though. I think, yes, moving it up, but I also don't want that to signal to people that, oh, now
I'm done and I can leave. I understand. I
This falls
understand.
under the umbrella that we signed up for this.
I understand.
This is council business, whether we're voting on something or not.
I understand. Okay. Yeah, we can certainly. All right. With that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Only before you can make a motion to keep this damn place.
Well, you said-
Sorry.
So if we lose quorum, we can't end the meeting.
That's true. That's true. That's the other one. So we.
Second.
All right. Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. All opposed? Discussion. Thank you all. It is 9:08.
Thank you.
We have successfully.
I have to take the laptop.
Oh, you do? Oh,
I
okay.
was
Okay. So can you put this in?
Can I click end here?
I'm not signing because I don't think it's necessary for me to do that.
Hold on, don't do that yet. I want to call.